everybody. Welcome to this very, very special episode of Game Rivals. I'm one of your hosts, Sean Templar, and I am honored to be joined by our star-studded cast today because we're going to talk about the generation in review. I mean, it's been 7 years since we kicked this generation off. We're at the eve of a new one by the time this episode airs. Some of you will already have had your shiny Xbox Series X's, or maybe even their PlayStations. But without further ado, let's jump into our star-studded cast. We have the amazing Nintendo expert, the person that says Nintendo has its own generation, Maximilian X. How are you today, man?
I'm good, Sean. How are you? Dang it.
I'm good. I'm really excited for this episode, and we have some amazing people lined up. We have old favorites returning. Our in-house Xbox expert that only highlights third-party games because Xbox doesn't have any first-party games. I'm just kidding. It's Gizmo. Hey, Gizmo, how are you?
Hi, Sean Templar. Thanks for having me, Max and Sean. I'm good. I'm very excited to do this episode. And yes, there will be third-party games in my list, but lo and behold, there's also first-party.
Oh, no.
Mind blown.
Yeah, so I'm really happy because you're the first person I know that's going to get a Series X in, I think, 2 days. You're counting the days,
So
right?
excited.
All right. And we have our my favorite returning because he's representing my favorite camp, our Sony representative, the sidekick to not who I am underneath, but what I do that defines me, Batman. Welcome, Robin.
Thank you for having me. So I will be doing the opposite as Gizmo is doing. I won't be referring to any third-party titles because I don't need to.
And we're going to have so much fun in this episode. I've been looking forward to this. So for the viewers at home, how this is going to work is we're going to...
Viewers? We have viewers now?
Oh, sorry. For the listeners, of course. I'm all in that game show mood, Jeopardy and stuff like that. So for the listeners at home...
Jeopardy.
I know. Yeah. So what we did is we asked all three contestants to come up with a list of top 5 games that really had an impact on them this generation. So not in general, but like a personal impact. And then they also have some runner-ups. I heard Robin's is 14, so I don't know if we're going to get to all 14, but who knows. So the honor befalls upon Maximilian to kick it off with Nintendo's own generation. So without further ado, let's jump in, Maximilian. The floor is yours.
All right. So, because the generation is not ending for Nintendo because we're only in year 4, we're going into year 4 as of March next year. But it has been a really great generation for Nintendo fans. We've had a lot of games come out, not just first party, but also third party games, third party ports. A lot of fantastic indie titles. I'm going to be talking about a few of them. So if you have any questions, guys, feel free to ask. I'm just going to start off with, what I'm assuming most people have played, and is seemingly changing the landscape of open world gaming, which is, of course, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is the first game I picked up with my Switch when it launched back in 2017.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, I still boot that game up from time to time just to run around the fields, try my hand at some Lionels, getting my butt whipped by Lionels, and, just roaming around, exploring, just, going on horseback rides and going through the fields, climbing mountains, getting to shrines, and it's just a really fun time. And the game looks amazing. It is, of course, a Wii U port, and there have been a lot of Wii U ports. So the poor Wii U has almost been, devoid of most of its exclusives that came out.
Is it a Wii U port? Isn't it a downgrade from the Switch to the Wii U?
It's not. The Switch version actually runs at a higher not a higher frame rate. What's the word I'm looking for?
Resolution?
Higher resolution, yeah.
Yeah, but he's referring to isn't isn't the Wii
Is
U
the Wii
version a
U
downgrade?
from the
Oh no,
Switch?
because it was originally a Wii U game, and then halfway through development, they decided to also port it to the Switch. Basically, the same thing what they did with Twilight Princess back in the GameCube Wii days.
Oh, okay. Did not know
Yeah,
that.
so it's a cross generation game, but a very good one at that. And at least they, if my memory serves me right, the DLC was available for both systems. So that was the last DLC that they worked on for the Wii U. Um, we have a mutual friend that played it on the Wii U for like the longest time before he finally bought a Switch and then switched over to the Switch
Switched
version.
over.
Unintended.
Fun not intended. But yeah, I mean, this was Nintendo's first foray into HD open world. I mean, they did port Wind Waker and they ported Twilight Princess to the Wii U, but those were not made for the system. They just had some other teams ported over. But as a actual open world game, like a HD open world game, this was their first, and you can really tell that they put a lot of effort in it. It also explains why it took so long, outside of the fact that they were making it for Wii U. And yeah, I mean, there's so much cool stuff that they did there that you didn't see in other open world games until more recently. I mean, like free running, of course, you had in Assassin's Creed, but you couldn't climb everything. You could climb most things as long as it was stippled out by the game. In Breath of the Wild, you can literally climb anything and go anywhere as long as it's not raining. Because then you slide down the mountainside. Oh, that's so annoying. It's a good thing that other developers did looked at that and was like, that does not look like a good time. Let's not do that.
I have to be honest that I only played Breath of the Wild briefly, but one thing that stood out for me is that everything just makes sense. So there was this moment in which I just grabbed some fruit and I went to this fireplace and I saw a pan on the fire. And I thought, like, I hadn't read it anywhere. I hadn't seen it anywhere. It's just a thought that occurred. I thought, like, okay, maybe what happens if I just throw the fruit on the fire? What will happen? And then I just did it, and I got this really cool, happy sounding animation, and then it just turned into something which gave me even more hearts, I think. And I was completely surprised. I'm like, oh, wow, okay, this is just something that I tried randomly. And I had the same with trees, which were across a canyon. And I thought, like, is it possible to just chop these trees up so that it just falls over and creates this bridge? And I just did it, and it worked. And that was one of those first things that I really thought, like, wow, it just makes sense in this game. And there were so many ways you could approach things. In the first part, you have to climb the mountain, this really cold mountain, to meet, I think it's Zelda's father. And then apparently you had to eat a fire pepper, and it would keep you warm, and that way you could move up the mountain. I didn't know that. What I did was I just grabbed a torch, and I shot an arrow through the fire to these beacons, and I was just running from beacon to beacon to keep myself warm. And that's how I got to the summit of the mountain. And then when I got at the top, people said, like, oh, you could just have eaten a fire pepper and that would be easy. And I'm like, oh, okay. But the fact that it just offered so many different ways to play just really made it stand out for me.
You could have also done his quest and got a warm doublet that kept you warm.
I think you only got it when you got to the top of the summit.
No, you can get it before you get to the summit. That's the whole point of it.
I thought you had to kind of traverse the wild and the cold, and the reward would be the warm thingy.
No.
Oh my god. Maybe that's the reason why I don't have a Switch anymore. I overcomplicate things. Thanks. You just told me 5 years too late.
No, but it is cool too. You can play this game in so many different ways. So
exactly, that's the whole point.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole point of it is the exploration part and tackling things the way you want to. I mean, I've seen people go straight to Ganon and take him out with just the barest essentials, like not even picking up the Master Sword, just the bare minimum that you can get at the beginning of the game. And that's crazy considering how ridiculously powerful the enemies are at Hyrule Castle, let alone, Calamity Ganon.
Yeah.
And the whole point of getting to the Divine Beast is because the Divine Beast, each of them takes like about
50%?
15% of his health. So if you get all 4 of them, it takes out 50% of his health. And yeah, I mean, yeah, I've seen people even get the Master Sword without getting the heart requirements, which is crazy. Apparently, it's possible. I've seen it once. I don't remember what the process is, but the fact that you can do all these things in this game makes it just that much more fun. And it is. I said that when I played the game, when I finished the game, is that I hope that a lot of developers take this to heart and see that this is the next logical step for open world games, that there's no real limits outside of the size and the scope of the area. And we're finally seeing that sort of. Ubisoft is going to be bringing out Immortals Phoenix, was it Phoenix Rising or Rising Phoenix? Dang, I wish they could just kept the Gods and Monsters. That was so much easier title. But that one is essentially Ubisoft's answer to Breath of the Wild. There's a lot of similarities between the two games, outside the fact that one takes place in Greek mythology, another one takes place in a made-up land of Hyrule. But it is a fun time. I took the week off when that game came out and the Switch came out. And by the time I had to go back to work, I still hadn't finished Breath of the Wild because I was having way too much fun exploring, way too much fun finding weapons, way too much fun doing all the puzzles, all the shrines, and the DLC. And the DLC also added some really cool stuff, like, for example, a Chica motorcycle, which looks like a horse, and you can do sweet-ass donuts with. The battle to get that item, however, is probably one of the best boss battles in the entire game. Outside of maybe no. The battle against Calamity Ganon is still pretty cool because it's in multiple parts. Especially the second part when you're outside. Oh, that's so beautiful. And it's great. It has great lore building. It's the first Zelda game with voice acting. It has a lot of firsts, and it's just something that really just brings a smile to my face whenever I play it. Even when I get upset because a Lionel took me out again, I know that it's not because the game is unfair. I know that I was just not using the right tactics to beat him. So yeah, Breath of the Wild, ace game, like totally ace. Can't wait for Breath of the Wild 2. In the meantime, I guess Hyrule Warriors. Wow, that was weird. Hyrule Warriors: Age of Calamity has to keep me company for a little bit longer until that game is finished and ready to release.
Somewhere in 2027 or something.
Yeah, funny, very funny.
I have said this before, and I think that, and maybe the situation with the pandemic around the world has changed it. We'll never know, but I think that this holiday season was the perfect moment for Nintendo to release Breath of the Wild 2, because it would take some thunder away from the PlayStation and the Xbox coming out, because they would say like, hey, but we have this hugely anticipated game. You don't have to buy a next-gen console. You can just enjoy it on your Switch or your Switch Lite. And I think that Age of Calamity is that runner-up maybe. But I think that it would have been perfect for Nintendo to release it this holiday season.
I'm going to be honest, I think it was by design because next year is the Zelda franchise's 35th anniversary. And they're doing a lot of celebrating, kind of, sort of, with Mario's 35th anniversary being this year. They even did a little something for Fire Emblem for its 30th anniversary, which is coming out in December as well. So I think that if they really were timing it specifically, timing it for the 35th anniversary of the franchise would be a better fit, because then you can do a whole celebration around it and not just, release it just because you want to take away thunder from, the competition.
If I may say something about this, maybe this is, far-fetched, but isn't it possible that they will keep this Breath of the Wild 2 as a launch game for the Switch Pro?
For the
I think
alleged Switch Pro.
That's really plausible.
It is plausible. I don't know if that's their whole game, but anything's possible these days. We've seen weirder stuff happen, right, guys?
Yep.
I think we got great news yesterday by hearing that there's a Mass Effect remaster coming.
True.
A lot of people were waiting for that one.
Except it's not coming to Switch, so I'm pissed off.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah, because they made a whole big stink about, oh, we're now suddenly going to support the Switch, and
But
then they just
let
dumped
me
a
ask
bunch
you
of ports. The game that was supposed to come out this fall was delayed till next year because of the pandemic. Yeah,
Let me put it this way, because I've asked this question multiple times, and now that we have a bigger group, to put it that way,
Mhm.
the thing that it's lacking for me for the Switch is that really big third party support. And I mean, I think Sony and Microsoft both have proven that, hey, you can have amazing first party franchises that will carry your console forward, but at the end of the day, you need AAA games from third parties that will kind of push your console forward as well, like a Call of Duty or an Assassin's Creed or
or a FIFA.
a FIFA. And I mean, that's some of the things that the Switch has been, at least in my opinion, really been lacking. And it's become this secondary console in which you either buy an Xbox or a PlayStation and you buy a Switch on the side so you can enjoy those Nintendo things. I just wonder if the Switch hasn't been held back because of that proper third-party AAA support.
Not really, considering that people enjoy the ports that come to the Switch. I mean, the whole point of the Switch is that it's a home console whenever you want it to be a home console, but at the same time, you can take it anywhere you want. There's been a lot of games that I've been playing, both first and third party, and indie games I've just been playing anywhere. I mean, even Breath of the Wild, like I think the first couple of days, I mostly played it while lying in bed because that was the most relaxing thing I could do. And then whenever I put it back on the base and played it on my TV, I'm like, oh dang, this game is actually really pretty. Like, I keep forgetting how pretty the game is, and then I put it on my TV, and it's like, oh right, that's why this system is awesome.
I'm just gonna ask Robin
I mean, there are
and Gizmo as well, because I know that's your answer, but I think you both also have a Switch.
Yes.
Yes. So, like, for you, are you agreeing with what Maximilian is saying, or do you kind of have that? I mean, like, I would love to play Assassin's Creed on the go, and I don't have that experience. Or I would love to play The Division on the go, but I don't have that experience.
Well, I've considered it multiple times where there is this game that's available on the Switch and on my PlayStation 4 as well. And most of the times I still opt to go for the PlayStation 4 version because it simply looks better and it performs better. And the games I'd want to play on the go aren't those kind of titles. Those are the kind of titles I want to play on my TV with the big screen and great sound set. So that's why I mostly opt for those versions then.
Okay. And you, Gizmo?
And for me, it's kind of the same. Like, I've heard the remarks from CD Projekt Red that they were able to port with The Witcher 3 to the Switch with a lot of details, but it was still not the same as it was on the Xbox One or the PS4.
Mm-hmm.
But it did give you the chance to play it on the go, but it's still not the same detailed experience you can get as you play it on what Robin said on the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One.
Yeah, in terms of visual experience,
yeah.
Okay.
And
so it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like I'm missing out on anything because I can still play those games. And like you said, Sean Templar, the Nintendo Switch is my Nintendo game console, and I play my Nintendo games on that. And for everything else, that's what I've got my PlayStation for.
Okay, that's a fair point.
The only thing that they could do is release a Switch Pro and have third-party developers the ability to develop the games on the same level as they do on, in this case, the next gen Series X and PlayStation 5, because with a lot of franchises brings a lot of money into developers' their bank accounts, like a FIFA, like a Madden, or whatever. Gamers on the Switch are really, really on the end of the line. The game isn't the same as you play it on a PlayStation or on an Xbox. And when you think of the whole business idea in for EA, like the whole future uh, um, Ultimate Tournament and Ultimate Teams, that doesn't translate well to the Switch because the gameplay isn't the same, the graphics aren't the same. It's just really as if you're playing a FIFA game on a Game Boy Advance.
Well, if we're talking about EA and FIFA, considering that they literally just ported the same game 3 times over, I don't think that's a very good comparison to make because that's literally what they did.
No, but like I think what an argument that he's having as well is I think this has been a thing in multiple earnings calls for EA is that they literally make millions, if not maybe a billion, off of things like FIFA Ultimate Team. So for EA, it is this huge opportunity for money, and then the Switch install base is an install base that's basically missing out on it, both for gamers as for EA.
The install base is almost 70 million. How is that a small install base?
No, I'm not saying that the install base is
no,
small.
No. But if you look at the people playing FIFA on a Switch, it's like this.
Yeah,
it's
because they keep porting the same thing with only updated rosters. It's not the same game.
Because
they're
they
cheating you for $60 for literally a game that they made back in 2019, or not even 2019, 2018.
But still,
so so of course the base is small. If they start doing the actual game, I think they might actually sell more. That's all I'm saying. Because again, that's why I'm saying like FIFA is not a good example in this case. Because it's literally porting a game from 3 years ago and just doing a roster update, which is something I've said that they should be doing for years in terms of like just having a
Let me put it this way. It's also missing out on other, I mean, like on was it the 3DS that Rockstar made GTA Chinatown Wars, which was a great game.
That was the regular DS, by the way.
The regular DS, but like we haven't got any unique AAA third-party games that often on the Switch as well. But I think before we digress and make this into a regular episode, because we're kind of trending towards that, let's move on with your list, because otherwise
we're going to be running short on time.
Yeah,
right.
So I think the Breath of the Wild is one of your list then? You have 4 more?
That's one of it. Yeah, I got 4 more.
Okay.
Yeah, so the next game on that list is Splatoon 2.
Nice.
Mostly because I was like totally in love with the first game. And I've said this before. I don't know if I've said it on the podcast before, but I actually dabbled in doing live streams for Splatoon. I think there might still be some content on my YouTube channel. If not on I don't think it's on my Twitch channel anymore, but on my own personal YouTube channel, there's still some streams that I re-uploaded there. And I had a fun time. It was really fun trying to be for the few months that I tried to be a Splatoon streamer on the Wii. It was a fun time. I was hoping to do the same thing, but due to technical difficulties, I was not able to do that. Plus, work got in the way even more, so it made it a bit more difficult. I hope that maybe I can do it again if there's ever like a Splatoon 3, but I don't think that's going to come out anytime soon. But Splatoon 2 was really fun. It's a fun multiplayer game where you play as the Inklings, or if you're playing it now, you can play as an Inkling or a Octoling, which were the former enemies of the first game. And yeah, it's a squad-based shooter where the point is not to get as many kills as possible, but to cover as much territory with your team's ink. And it's a neon lit, fantastical game where you're squatting up with either your friends or with randoms, and just having a blast while doing that. And it's a really fun game. The controls are excellent because they use the unique thing is that they use motion controls for you to aim up and down, but you're still using the right analog stick to look left and right. So you can actually very precisely aim where you need to be, and it's just a really fun time. They added even a single player DLC expansion called the Octo expansion, the Octo expansion. They used to do these almost monthly things called the Splatfest, where you can choose whatever team you're on. So, for example, they had one about condiments. So, are you team ketchup or are you team mustard? I think it was mustard or ketchup, or ketchup and mayonnaise. Oh yeah, it was ketchup and mayonnaise, and they actually colored the ink in those colors. So you had this mayonnaise colored team and this ketchup colored team, and it looks so weird when it all matches up together. It doesn't turn pink or anything. It looks super weird because it has that weird glossy look to it as well because it's ink. And they had one Autobots versus Decepticons, which was a really cool one because then you had like this cool Autobot shirt or a Decepticon shirt, which you don't get to keep, unfortunately. And the single player is just really solid. It teaches you all the mechanics of the game, all the different weapon types that are in the game. It has a lot of fun, weird characters. I mean, one of them is what is it again? A muscle called Sheldon, who makes your weapons. There's this tempura fried shrimp who sells you food. Who used to, by the way, in the first game, he used to sell you shoes, but now that's being handled by someone else. It's just a fun game with a lot of fun characters in there. If you haven't played Splatoon 2 already, it's worth it. If you want to play something multiplayer, fun, and not all killy the whole time, because when you get splatted, you just
killy.
You just explode into an ink blob and then respawn later. So yeah, it's fun times. The third game on my list, of course, if I don't mention it, people are going to talk about it. Like, why didn't you mention it? I'm sure there are a lot of games that people are going to be like, why didn't you talk about this? And why did you talk about that? We don't have a lot of time. The next game, obviously, is Smash Brothers Ultimate. As a lifelong Nintendo fan, but now also going into this generation, Ultimate is... It holds up to its name so much, it's ridiculous. Because when they announced it, and when they said every character that was ever in the game is back, people lost their minds. I lost my mind. Like, I went insane because I was seeing, because they made the best trailer ever, and I stand by this. It's probably still like this generation's best reveal trailer ever, and I can still go back to that trailer and still get that feeling of, oh snap, those mad lads did it. Sakurai-san did it, and he got everyone. And then the DLC happened. The first Fighter Pass happened, and it was great. The second Fighter Pass, however, I'm still kind of mixed over. I mean, I wasn't looking forward to ever having to see the game include any kind of Minecraft reference, but here we are. It's 2020, and the world is upside down. But yeah, I mean, the base game and at least the first Fighter Pass was just amazing. The single player content, the World of Light, is also a really cool take on. Not unlock. If you want to unlock characters that way, you can. But they at least allow you to unlock characters in multiple different ways. Every character plays uniquely. My character, by the way, is Ness from Earthbound. It is also through that franchise is why I learned about Earthbound, and everybody, of course, learned about Fire Emblem. People kind of nag that there are way too many Fire Emblem characters in there, but it's fine. I mean, granted, most of them use swords, so people are like, "Oh, this is just Fire Emblem Sword Fighter." It's like, yeah, I'm okay with that. They're cool characters, I mean, there are fun characters in Fire Emblem, and yeah, if they get represented, then so be it. It's also cool to see the third-party characters being represented. You know, you got Sonic in there, you got Mega Man in there, you got Solid Snake in there. That one was crazy. That's still crazy to this day. That Snake is.
I don't understand why they did it, but I'm happy that
it's
they did.
Well, Kojima was just like most people, a big fan of Smash, and if it was up to him, he would have been in Smash in Melee, but they couldn't work the details out. That's why he was in Brawl. But the fact that they were able to bring him back for Ultimate is like this crazy thing because of licensing. You know, you got Cloud in there, you got dang it, who else is in there now? Like, you got the Castlevania characters in there. It's crazy. So if you're not just a Nintendo fan, but a fan of gaming, there's probably a character in there that you really want. Really want to play as. And then you can finally settle the score and say, like, this character is the best character ever, period. So yeah, that's Smash. I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to go through this a little bit quicker, if you guys don't mind. Of course, on the list, I had to put Super Mario Odyssey on here. Probably the best 3D Mario game, bar none. And that's saying a lot, considering that my favorite one was Galaxy and its sequel. You can play that now as well on the Switch. Well, at least the first one, not the second one. Seriously, Nintendo, what the hell? But yeah, Super Mario Odyssey, fun time. Like, the most fun that I've had playing a Mario game in a really long time. Not that I'm dissing on like the new Super Mario Bros. Series, but it's not the same. And the last game that I want to talk about a little bit more is Fire Emblem Three Houses, which is not it coming to prominence, of course, but Fire Emblem Three Houses is a very unique game in its own right because of how it works. You have 3 main houses, as the title entails, that you can actually follow. You as the main character. This is not the first time that you are in the game as a character of its own, own customized character. But this is the first time that you are very integral to the story, because it kind of sort of revolves around you, but also revolves around the 3 houses of the kingdom. And it's just a really fun time. You learn about all the characters so much. You get your favorites. You get to. The only thing that I'm missing, unfortunately, is that even though this game has a time skip like previous games had, it's only a very small time skip, and people like just turn dark, as in people had dark backstories, and you learn about it as you play through the game. And then when the time skip happens, they have given into whatever it is that was in their past to shape them into the people that they are then. And it's just, and in some cases, it's just really sad because you grow to love them, because in this game, you are their professor in the school that they attend. So when you suddenly have to face them in the battlefield for reals and not just in a skirmish, you have to kill them or hope that you can recruit them.
Can they actually die?
Yeah, because the Fire Emblem franchise is made famous by permadeath.
Uh-oh.
I mean, you now have the casual mode so that you can, whenever characters die, they can come back unless it's story related, and then they die for reals. But if you're playing that, then I don't know why you're playing Fire Emblem. You have to play classic mode or higher. I played the classic mode, of course. I tried playing it on the hard difficulty mode. People are like, "Oh, hard difficulty mode is not that hard." Yeah, until you get past the time skip, and then it's all resetting the whole time whenever a character dies. And you're like, I didn't want to kill this character. I didn't want this character to die. Reset. And then I was like, you know what? I'm just going to play on normal. I want to finish the story and get it over with. So I did that. And then they did introduce a malevolence level, so a level higher than hard. And people are like, yeah, this is the challenge I want. I'm like, you're all a bunch of misogynists, man. What is wrong with you people?
But I must say,
Yeah.
permadeath adds something unique. I haven't played Fire Emblem, but I'm playing Watch Dogs Legion now, and that has a permadeath option, and I have it on, and it just adds this completely different layer of, I would say, caution to the game instead of just going out guns blazing. So I can't imagine that it's pretty cool in that game in Fire Emblem.
Yeah. I mean, if you've played any Fire Emblem game, then you've experienced permadeath multiple times before. But with the more recent games, they also added the casual mode so that they can get more players to play it and actually finish a game without them losing their favorite characters, because you get really attached to some of these characters. And some of these games, you can actually marry the characters, and in some of them, you actually have a big enough time skip that you actually have kids, or in one case, your kids come from the future to save the present.
That sounds like something out of Dragon Ball Z.
Dragon Ball Z has never had time travel, by the way.
Trunks, he came from the
What?
future.
Oh, right. Dang it. My favorite character. My favorite character. I forgot that he's
How
from
can
the
you not
do you-
know that?
That's just you just went down on my rank, Maximilian. How the hell do you miss Trunks time travel in Dragon Ball
And it's
Z?
his favorite character.
Because at this point in time, Trunks is just a mainstay, and you forget the fact that he's a time traveler.
No.
I can get that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have one question for the three of you,
Mm-hmm.
since
my
you
God.
all three have Switches.
Yeah.
And for Maximilian, strange. For
Oh, no,
Maximilian,
it's contagious.
for Maximilian, it could be maybe one of the 5 he just mentioned, and for Robin and Gizmo could be different. But if you have to name one game from the Nintendo generation that we're in right now that made a huge impact on you, or say you're stuck on an island and you can only bring one game on your Switch, which game would it be?
Breath of the Wild.
Wow.
No.
Okay.
Dang it. No. Yeah,
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild.
I can give you some
Yeah.
20 seconds to think about it.
No, because like I said before, you can just jump right in and just go exploring all you want. I mean, I put
Are you
500.
farting or,
No, that was me blowing raspberries. I apologize. I mean, I put in at least 400 to 500 hours in
Holy
Breath
crap.
of the Wild,
Okay.
just
Oh, dang.
roaming and doing stuff.
And
And that does not, by the way, include Master Quest, which is insane. By the way, kudos to those that can actually finish Master Mode, because that is so difficult.
Okay, so it's Breath of the Wild for you. Gizmo?
It's kind of cheating because they are remasters, but I would go for Bayonetta 1 and 2
Oh, nice pick.
good
Nice
one.
pick.
Good
Yeah.
one.
because I played Bayonetta 1 on the 360 and I really enjoyed the game, and when it came as a bundle to the Switch, I just saw it as a perfect opportunity to play that game on the go as well as on a big screen. And when you're stuck on an island, you want to have something to look at, and Link is fine and all, but
I'm sorry. I just find it funny that that's your reasoning, because you want something pretty to look at.
no, but
Not
apart
I
from
mean,
that,
not that there's
it's a
anything
good
wrong
game.
with
It's
that.
it's from Platinum Games, and I really enjoyed.
It's a
titles
really
from
beautiful
Platinum.
game. Graphically, I know what you mean. From graphics point of view, it's really stylish and really nice.
And it's quick. Like the action and the gameplay is so almost Devil May Cry like
Well,
level.
it is basic. Well, basically from the same team. So
Yeah.
similar members from the team.
Yeah, but yeah, I really liked 1, and I'm still finishing up 2. But that would be my go-to game on the Switch.
Nice. And you,
Nice.
Robin?
Yeah, I should say Breath of the Wild, but I'm not going to. I'm going to be saying Animal Crossing, since we'll be staying on an island, and I should be saying that one. That's the whole reason I actually bought my Switch this year, because it's weird. So the whole pandemic started, lockdown started, and Animal Crossing came out. And I've played the Animal Crossing games in the past, but I didn't own a Switch. And my wife asked me, well, what's that Animal Crossing thing? And I started explaining to her. And by the end of like a 15-minute rant about what Animal Crossing is, I realized I need to buy a Switch. I need this game in my life right now. I want this. And that's why we ended up buying a Switch in March of this year. So I'm going to be saying Animal Crossing. Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Nice.
It's
Anything you would want to play on the Switch?
I think I'd have to go, and this is kind of like the wild card because maybe like a childhood memory. I think I'd have to go with Pokemon because I used to play Pokemon Red on the Game Boy Pocket. I never was able to finish it, but I mean, growing up watching Pokemon on TV and then having Pokemon Red, and I was a huge Charmander fan. I wanted to get that Charizard, so to be able to relive that memory in a way was really nice. I had people know that listen to the podcast. I had two Switches in separate times, and both sold them off, unfortunately. And I've been really doubting to buy a Switch again. But I'm trying to hold myself because hopefully there will be a nice shiny box standing next to my TV in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I think
A
it'd be
big shiny
Pokemon.
monolith.
yeah. So I think it'd be Pokemon, and I have to honestly say, I mean, like we make a lot of fun, or at least I make a lot of fun about Nintendo. But Nintendo has had some amazing games this generation. I think it's a great time to be a Nintendo gamer, and the fact that they kind of do their own thing only makes it better to be a Nintendo gamer because you get far more unique experiences for the Switch.
And not just from Nintendo themselves, but the thing that has been shining on Nintendo Switch and before that on the Wii U were the indie titles.
Yep.
I'm just gonna mention a few of them. These are my honorable mentions. By the way, they're pretty much all indie titles. The Shantae games in general, doesn't matter which Shantae game that you play on the Switch, they're all good games by Way Forward. Love those guys. They do an awesome job with like 2D platformers or Metroidvanias, as some people like to call them. Dang it, what's it called again? It has such a long title, and I hate bringing it
the
up.
Crypt of the Necromancer. That game.
Cadence of Hyrule. Yeah, Cadence of Hyrule. Long ass title, but love that game. It's one of the more unique rhythm games that I've played. But Crypt of the Necrodancer, the Legend of Zelda variant, is so much fun. Outside of that, of course, Shovel Knight. Full disclaimer: I was a Kickstarter backer on Shovel Knight. I was also a Kickstarter backer of one of the Shantae games. So also that. I also mentioned a few things. If you go to our Instagram, we also do like a generation review there. That's where this idea came from. And I also mentioned Snake Pass, which is, I know, a multi-platform title, but it is so much fun to play it on the Switch with the HD Rumble. So, if you haven't checked that one out yet, check that one out as well. And yeah, those are just a few of my honorable mentions. There's way too much if I were to go on and on.
People should tune into our Instagram to see more about them, I think, in the coming weeks.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice. Shameless self-promotion there. Cool. On that note, thank you. We will be right back with our second segment, Xbox. Alrighty, welcome back to our second segment. We're heading into the land of the Xbox, in where a man in a green spacesuit has been floating around, and people have always been telling him, "Finish the fight, Chief." Well, he's not going to finish the fight this year because his ass got pushed into 2021. But I still hope that Gizmo has some games for us. So, yes, couldn't resist.
I just see that big Monty Python foot just pushing him in.
Sorry, that wasn't. No. But honestly, Xbox is. I think. I'm gonna be honest with this. Xbox is really, really playing it well. They're playing the long game, which is a really smart thing to do. Their whole idea around Game Pass and xCloud and gaming available on all platforms is a really smart one. From a business point of view, they will make gazillions. And now, I mean, they did the Bethesda takeover. They're kind of lacking in the games, but I've said this to you all. Like, I think in 2 or 3 years' time, we will have this huge fight going on, and at the end of the day, the people that will win are not the companies but the gamers. So, without further ado, it's the floor is yours, Gizmo.
Thank you, Sean Templar. Just to tell this outright, I don't play Halo.
Okay, then we just need to kick you off and find somebody. We'll kick you into 2021 with your chief together.
Why would you do that? He's a unique unicorn. He's someone who's not constantly going about
Okay, but I think this is a fun fact that we need to go into just really quickly. I think he's the only person I have ever met in my life that gets motion sickness from playing first-person shooters.
Oh no! There are people that have that.
Yeah, I know, but I've never met one, and he is the only person I know that has that. So when he first told me, I'm like, "Get out of here!" I was like, "No, I can't play first-person shooters for a long time. It gets me dizzy." I'm like, "What?"
Wait, have you tried VR?
Yeah, I tried VR. I can do that because the thing is, when I move my head, the view moves with me. But with first-person shooter, it doesn't, and then my head goes like, "What the hell are you doing?" So that's why I don't play Halo. I have played it. Like I've played Halo 3 on multiplayer, but I am not able to do that for longer than an hour or maybe 1 hour, 1.5 hours.
Does that also mean that Call of Duty is also not on your list?
Nope.
I think that's actually good because he can give us a unique perspective.
I've played Call of Duty Black Ops multiplayer once in a while, but then again, not longer for 1.5 hours because then my head explodes and I really have to sit back and then play FIFA or something. But yeah, so thank you for the intro about not having any first-party games for the Xbox. But my list does compile more or less about third-party games, and the one I want to kick off with is actually a Monolith game from 2014 already, Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor.
Oh, I love that game.
Yeah, it was one of the for me, it was one of the sleeper hits from the beginnings of the current generations because, I love Lord of the Rings and the trailers that they showed were already blowing my mind, and the whole idea of having a nemesis system that was like, how the hell are you going to do that? But that gave me a sense of purpose as soon as I died to look for that specific orc and kill this orc again, so you can get more XP about it. But that's the whole that was something I've never experienced before, like looking specifically for one person that was not on the main story, but just somebody who killed you somewhere in the past, and then when you ran into that one, you see the reaction are also built into the game. Like, are you? One of the reactions is something like, "Oh, are you back again for another kill?" And that was something that was so unheard of at that time. And I was
still pretty much unheard of even now.
Yeah, but that's one of those.
I know that there was recently a game that came out. I'm sorry, I'm flaking on the name, but that game also has a kind of nemesis system in it, and I think it's the first game ever to have it outside of, the Shadow of Mordor games.
Yeah, because a lot of people were expecting this to be one of those features that gets copied into all sorts of games, but it didn't, and that's kind of what made the game unique.
Yeah, and so that was one of the things that blew me away, like the nemesis system, Lord of the Rings, and
the combat was really nice as well. It was kind of that Arkham Knight, Arkham Asylum style. I love that.
Yeah, it was a mix between Assassin's Creed and the Arkham games, which is like the flow was really Arkham series-like, and the dodging was Assassin's Creed. For me, it was like the perfect combo, and Monolith, being a Warner Brothers studio, had the expertise from Warner Brothers Montreal, of course, because they did Batman Arkham Origins. But the way they implemented the dodge system from Assassin's Creed was like perfect for me. And yeah, so that is my it's a random list, so that's okay. One of my 5.
So if I can ask, so before you go to the second one, why are you mentioning Shadow of Mordor and not Shadow of War, just out of curiosity?
Oh yeah, that's a good one because I don't like grinding.
Yeah. He makes a good point there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I haven't played it either, but I heard that was not a fun time.
I never
Basically,
understood
it's
why
like
they did
everything
it.
that they thought was good, and then they threw the good stuff out the window.
Yeah,
no,
but it's
no, no.
almost at the end of the game that the grinding happens, and there's no really clear explanation as to why you have the grind.
But you do have to do that because
Yeah.
otherwise your ass gets kicked
I,
all
I
over the
stopped
place.
doing it. I eventually
Yeah,
just quit doing it, and I just looked up the ending on YouTube because I didn't feel like doing the grind.
same for me. And graphically, they didn't improve that much because the first game was already very impressive
Hmm.
when you sit up on top of those. Uh, yeah, what was it called? Like those towers that you have to cleanse from Sauron.
You mean
And
like the Ubisoft towers to unlock the rest of the map?
yes, that one. If you were on top of those towers and you looked into the to the farther places of the map, it's like holy shit, that's impressive, and
Hmm.
that's just still the same on Shadow of War, but um, yeah, I've put Shadow of War on this list because that was the first game that blew me away in that sense.
I had the
Um,
same thing.
and on to the next one is also one of it was a game in the launch window from the Xbox One as well, and it's Sunset Overdrive.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, all I can say about this game is it's over the top. I think it's the last game Insomniac produced for a non-Sony console before it was bought by Sony.
That was, I think, the first game in years that they made for a non-Sony console as
Yeah.
well.
And it was the last one as immediately, but still. But
No, they also had that submarine game that came out on PC.
Did they?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that submarine game.
Was it a VR game? I think they
No,
also did
it's
some
not.
VR stuff.
It's essentially an indie title because it was made, um, I think, with one of the developers' kids who had an idea, and they basically tooled it and made it into I forget what the name.
Oh, that's nice. I did not know that.
Yeah, it's I mean it's a really sweet game and it's very nice from what I heard. I think I bought it, but I haven't played it yet. That's why I'm forgetting the name. It's also a couple of years ago, but they brought out like this small little indie title. So
It says here that they made an Oculus Rift game called Edge of Nowhere, and it came out in 2016.
Huh. Okay, so it wasn't the last game for a non-Sony console.
Or Stormland is also a VR game that they made. Um,
When were they bought by Sony, by the way?
Last year. Oh, this year or last year?
last year.
Last year.
Huh.
Yeah.
But again, Sunset Overdrive, it was a really fun game to play. It was over the top, like you could not imagine. And the thing is, when I look back at the game, I really see where Spider-Man got its um, traversing from. When you look at how the main character moves from A to B in Sunset Overdrive, it's not web slinging, but when you jump, you have ridiculous jump power in the game. So when you do that, you do have to find a way to connect the next point to grind off the rest of your travels in, and that goes that has a sense of Spider-Man web slinging features, and yeah, that was something I did not think of after I've watched a few videos to remind myself of it, and I played it again, and I said, holy shit, it's really easy to get into it, even though I haven't played it for years, but it's really easy to get back into the game because it's the how do you call it, like there's no steep learning curve in that sense.
Nice. Yeah.
And
They kind of did that for Spider-Man as well, because I went back to Spider-Man 2 weeks ago, and it's been years since I played Spider-Man, and it's like exactly as you say. I could just simply jump in and swing around the city, and I could just do my thing. I might not have been as well as good as in it as a couple of years ago, but that's like if you put like an hour into it, you get that. but I know that they've nailed that part.
Yeah, and that's really really special for a game that, like, I've played it like in 2014, and the last time 2015 is 5 years ago, and booting it up and playing again is, and think of, yeah, you need like 15 minutes to get a hold of the controls again, but then it's like a second nature again. And the whole game was like uber customizable, so there is little chance that the character you've built in that game will be found somewhere else, in someone else's game as well, because you could choose different colors, you could choose different masks, and you could even choose different weapons, and the way you use the weapons in your game would progress differently than somebody else using another set of weapons, because the weapon progression was also individually tweaked. So that was something special, especially for 2014. But yeah, that's my second game on the list. Maximilian.
A little quick thing. I did a little quick search. The game that I was talking about was Song of the Deep.
Is it also done by Insomniac?
Yeah, that was done by Insomniac. And I got the details a little bit wrong, so I want to correct that before we move on. It was the chief creative officer, Brian Hastings, wanted to make it was a passion project for him, because he wanted to make a game where there was the lead character was a heroine, so that his daughter could look up to that character and be like, see, like she could save the world too in her own unique way.
Oh, that's sweet.
That's nice.
Yeah, it's really sweet. I mean, that one is also a multi-platform game. It came out in July 2016, so it came out for Windows PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. So yeah, also one of those Metroidvania games. But yeah, at least I mean, we're never gonna see any more Insomniac games appear on any other platforms except for PlayStation. But considering the pedigree that's there,
I don't think that's a really bad thing, though.
I'm biased.
But yeah, at least you got Sunset Overdrive out of it, and I always thought it looked like a really fun, flashy game. Which around that time when it came out, it reminded me a lot. It reminded me a lot of Splatoon at the time because of all those soda zombies that explode.
Yeah. It was really a game that didn't think of itself like being super serious. It was like a really fun game, over the top, and just have fun with it. And something that one of the videos I've watched again mentioned, it was like breaking the fourth wall a lot of times during the game. Like, so the game starts out basically as you're a guy on a festival working, picking up the garbage from the floor from all the festival goers. And one of the missions in the game is you picking up garbage again for whatever reason. And you hear yourself saying like, I started the game, picking up trash. I'm doing this again in the game, picking up trash. It doesn't seem I'm moving forward in any way. It's like,
nice.
So that's really something that I don't see a lot of in games, like taking itself not so serious and just play with the fourth wall and
Deadpool is maybe the only game that does that.
One of the few games that does it well.
Yeah, but that's because Deadpool, of course, itself is not adhering to having a fourth wall in it.
Yeah, I think there's
comics already.
The funny thing is that I'm not 100% sure, but I think the rights to Sunset Overdrive are owned by Insomniac themselves, because that's been a rumor that's been floating around for a while now, is that Insomniac or Sony is going to stick it to Microsoft and make a Sunset Overdrive 2, which will be exclusive on PlayStation. That would be kind of ironic. I don't hope that they do it, because then Microsoft might stick it to us and say, well, no Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 for you guys. And those are a little bit bigger franchises, I think. But
that's something I really missed, because the game itself is really fun, and when development progresses over the years with the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, of course, the developers get to know those consoles a little bit better. And I would have loved to see another Sunset Overdrive 2 or something in the same universe with the same sense of humor and yeah, immaturity, sort of say.
Well, considering the fact that Microsoft published the game, so I'm pretty sure that they own the rights to the IP, or at least the publishing rights to the IP. Unless they work out a deal, I don't think we're gonna see a Sunset Overdrive 2 on PlayStation anytime soon. They could pull a From Software and do a Dark Souls, because Demon Souls is literally owned by Sony. That's why From Software could never make another Demon Souls again. And that's why they made Dark Souls with Bandai Namco. So Bandai Namco, if I'm not mistaken, owns the Dark Souls IP, and while Sony owns
So
Demon Souls.
Sony should have come up with Sundown Medium Drive.
Sunrise
Hey,
Overdrive.
As long as they can get around the copyright for the game, yeah, I'm pretty sure they could do that if they want.
Yeah.
If they wanted to.
I when you look at Insomniac, it's like, why not? It's like
I think they have their hands full on both Spider-Man 2, so not Miles Morales, but Spider-Man 2,
yeah.
and also Ratchet and Clank. And I do kind of hope that this generation, same goes for Naughty Dog, that they'll just come up with new IPs instead of just continue on what they have. So who knows? I mean, open world games have been taking up a lot more space in gaming this generation more than ever.
Yeah, and Sunset Overdrive was in essence an open world game. Even though it wasn't a really big open world, it was an open world game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's my second game. And on to my third game. And that's kind of an indie platformer. Maybe you've heard of it, Ori and the Blind Forest.
That game is really nice.
And yeah, I really love the game. It's like the first time I saw the trailers and I had the opportunity to play a demo in advance before it was released on the Microsoft Store, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is a good game," and it feels so fluid and everything, and yeah, the fact that the story also is very I thought it was very well written, even though it's if you're very good at the game, you can finish it in 3 or 4 hours, which is an achievement. Like, but yeah, and the fact that everything was handcrafted in all the animations were handcrafted gives it a bit more appreciation from me. Like, yeah, when you see the background and all the details in the game, it's like you really feel the weight of a person drawing that piece of wood or drawing that background or anything. It's like, yeah, it blew me away how good it looked on screen, and the fact that there's no, as in Zelda, there's no talking, there's no conversation in the game, but it still managed to feel weighted when something terrible happened to the character or something unexpected happened during the story, and that was really yeah, I think it's a really strong component of the game, and luckily they had a sequel out, Ori and the Will of Wisp, which continued on the same level when it comes to storytelling. And again, every image, every animation has been handcrafted by the developers as well.
I think the Xbox Series X version will run also at 120 FPS, right?
Yes, and I cannot wait for that because I really suck at platforming, and maybe with 120
I don't
FPS,
think it's gonna get better just
It's
because
not
you
going to
get to
make
see
you
more
unsuck
frames.
or anything like that.
little less sucky.
But
I'm happy with a little less sucky. And
okay,
yeah,
this is a family-friendly podcast, man. Keep it
Hey,
clean.
we're not referring to anything strange here. I mean,
What
and
platform is it available on?
it is
Uh,
available on Xbox, and last year it was released on a Switch as well. I don't know if
Ah.
it's
Yeah,
the second one
both
is
games
available
as
for
well. Yeah,
Switch. Both are.
they released Will of the Wisps 2 months ago, and I think last month they put out the collector's edition as well. So that the one that comes with
And
both the
they
first
released it
and
on
the second
Steam
game.
as well.
Yeah,
well, it's not available
So
on PlayStation?
no.
no.
Uh-huh.
What?
Yeah, this is one of those games that Microsoft and Nintendo, had a handshake deal on. So,
Okay.
And doing a
alongside of
handshake with three persons is
Cuphead
kind of
and
awkward.
what now?
A three-way handshake is awkward.
Sure.
But yeah, and
Yeah.
not forgetting to mention the soundtrack. Like as I mentioned, there's no dialogue in the game, so the soundtrack has to carry the game. And yeah, both in the Blind Forest and Will of the Wisp, they nailed it like head on because they used real orchestras to record all the soundtracks, and that really adds another dimension to the game as well. So
The game has amazing atmosphere.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I played the demo on my Switch for Blind Forest when that game came out, and I'm like, wow, I'm still surprised that the game is running on Switch as smooth as it is, and I know that Digital Foundry did a piece on how they ported, because they did the port work themselves. They didn't do it wasn't
No.
like a port studio that did it. They did it themselves, and they made a conscientious effort into doing the port themselves so that they know that the game will run as best as it can on Switch. So kudos to that. Kudos to Microsoft allowing them to do that. I know they're an indie developer, and
And they did
honestly,
announce they did announce they're working on a new IP, so I cannot wait for
oh,
Moon Studios to show us what they're working on. Because
I
if it's going to be the
got my
same
attention.
quality as Ori, and it's going to be a
Oh,
winner.
they've proven themselves 3 times over at this point. So yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that. I'm curious to see how that is going to turn out.
So, Robin, you do have an Xbox. I know you only boot it up like once every 7 years.
Once every 3 years.
Oh.
No, why did you buy it?
The reason I bought it was the same reason I only power it on every 3 years. But I'm kind of guessing that Gizmo, you're referring to the game you're going to be mentioning next.
Probably.
Okay. So the reason I bought an Xbox Series, Xbox Series S. I bought an Xbox One.
Naming scheme.
I bought an Xbox One S back in 2016, and the reason for that was Gears 4, and the reason I powered on my Xbox One S last year again was for Gears 5. I basically have a Gears box. Gears box.
No,
Gears
that's a
Box
developer.
1S. The Gears Box Series X. Oh man.
Yeah, that's gonna be Robin's nameplate. Like,
Are
here's your Gears
you
box.
Are you gonna get a Series X for Gears, Robin?
Gears 6.
Well, I tried to talk this over at home, and I said to my wife, "Well, I think I want to get a Series X as well." And she said, "Well, how many games did you play on your Xbox One S?" And I said, "Well, 2 actually." But I'm kind of guessing that the next generation is going to be different, but I won't be getting one at launch. I know that, but maybe by the time Gear 6 turns out, I might get one.
Maybe you can
Or you could just play it on xCloud.
That's an option as well. You're right.
Yeah.
But you have to buy an Android phone for that.
Oh, maybe they'll go
Well,
the
maybe
Stadia
by that
route
time.
and
Well,
make
maybe
it
by
available.
that time they'll have a web version available.
But they are working on a web version, and there are developers already having xCloud working on an iPhone and an iPad, but it's still not the same
Would
as.
also be nice if they got it working on PC. Just saying.
But that's why they would say, hey, you can use Game Pass for PC.
Yeah, why do you want to use?
Well,
xCloud
not
on a
everybody
PC?
has an amazing rig to play it on. Because
Ah,
if they're going all ray tracing on us, ray tracing is not a cheap tech to invest in.
yeah, that's true.
Unless you buy a next gen system, which if you haven't bought one already, well, have fun and wait until 2021. Gizmo's all excited.
Yes, I'm so excited. Tuesday, can't wait.
We'll probably tackle the mailman before the mailman can even get into reach.
As soon as I see the van,
Boston van.
I'll like sprint outside, like, you're here, get out. Otherwise, I'm gonna open up the door myself.
I think the postal worker is just gonna screech away because he's not.
I think they're gonna have like the weirdest round on Tuesday. Like, my bus is filled with only one type of box. What the f is going on? And every time they open up the door, they see like a nerd opening. Oh, it's like, oh, I see a pattern.
Well, considering you can't buy it anywhere in the stores, that's literally the only way you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
Either that or pick it up in the store where you pre-ordered it.
Yeah.
So
So two
Yeah.
games left or 3 games left?
So the game. So your number 3 or 4 game is what? Gears 4 or 5 or both?
No. My number 4 game is Gears 5.
Okay.
Thanks
Why
for the
5
setup.
over 4?
Yeah, Gears 5 over 4 because basically only because of one thing, and that is they stepped away from the Phoenix family.
Didn't they do that with Judgment?
No, it wasn't Judgment a
Somewhere,
prequel?
yeah, but Judgment isn't. Yeah, it's of course canon and it's a prequel, but it's
okay.
not Gears 1, 2, 3, and then Judgment is before 1, then 4, 5, and Gears 1, 2, 3, 4 all revolve around the Phoenix name. Like 1, 2, 3 is Marcus, 4 is JD, and Gears 5, JD is there, but the main character is Gate Diaz, and because of that, I've picked 4. I've picked 5
A
over
woman
4.
cog. Okay.
She's a
And
badass.
Yes, you can tell. I have no race in the Gears series. I've played 1 back in the day, like a little bit with my buddy Prof, and like that's about it.
yeah, so that's why Gears 5 is my number 4. Mm-hmm.
If I can quickly add to Gears 4 then, because if I think about this generation for the Xbox, like I said, I've basically played 2 games on my Xbox, but Gears 4 really blew me away because I really like the fact that they stuck to the Phoenix family, and I really liked the way it was kind of a soft reboot, and they I know it's a new studio, but this game went. I'm kind of a sucker for timescapes, where a story is you get a timescape and you get a new generation, and I really like those kinds of stories, and I really like to see those old faces again in the game. And sorry about the spoilers for you, Maximilian, if you're ever going to be playing the game.
It's fine.
But you get all your famous characters back, but they're just older, and it's and there's this plot twist at the end of the game which really hooked me. Which is really I'm looking forward to I was really looking forward to the next one. Have they announced it's going to be trilogy, or is it?
No, they're gonna have a Gear 6, but
yes,
I don't know if it's gonna be a
series.
trilogy. I don't know because I don't think so because the story of Gate Diaz I don't see it being finished in just one game.
No. Okay.
So I do feel that they have to continue it a bit further than Gear 6, or it has to be a game that's going to be so long that has never been done in a Gear series, but
No.
I don't
But
think
There's
that.
always DLC.
Gears 3 ended at a really good point for the game. It basically ended the series, and they found a proper way to continue the story in Gears 4. And it was really fun to see those characters return. And I'm although, like I said, I've only played 2 games on my Xbox. I have no regret buying an Xbox for those 2 games.
I'll be
look
honest
at-
with you. I had an Xbox Series. I had an Xbox One S.
Great naming, guys.
Yeah, I mean, the guy that came up with that stuff. Well, you need to get a raise, man. Because, anyways, I had a Xbox One S, and I played Forza Horizon on it, and I played Rise Son of Rome on it, and those games were awesome. And then after that, I really didn't touch it. So I kind of do understand why Robin is booting it up once in a while, but there are some pretty good games out there. I don't know if anybody played Rise Son of Rome, but that game is just so awesome.
Yeah, Rise Son of Rome is like the Order 8086 from Microsoft.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
really awesome, really good, but
really
like
beautiful.
Over in like you blink twice with your eyes gone.
Yep.
I don't like how that's a theme.
It's not a bad thing. I mean, the game was. It's still. I saw it on PC the other day, and it just still looks amazing for a 7-year-old game.
Who was the developer on that again?
Crytek.
Right.
Yeah, they do have a name of putting out games that look really good for builds that are not possible.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gears 5. Yeah, that's my 4th game, and
last one?
my last game is a little fun fact. I'm a huge Batman fan. Like huge Batman fan. But yeah. So this one could not be not on the list. So the last game in my generation review is Batman Arkham Knight.
Nice.
Because it was the ending of the Arkham series, and it was released on the next gen at the moment. And I was so happy it was released. And Arkham City, starting with Arkham Asylum, of course, it was a great game, but limited to just one location, Arkham Asylum, and then you had Arkham City, who was just a part of Gotham City, but it was already like, holy, how could you put so much content into a game? And then the next step was, of course, release Batman in the entirety of Gotham City. And that in my opinion, they did that perfectly, and especially with the Batmobile. And I know a lot of people hate on the fact that the Batmobile is so in your face.
I don't like the controls of the Batmobile. I love the Batmobile, but the controls are really bad.
I get that, but
does it feel like driving a tank or something?
Yeah, but
it's really clunky.
Yeah, but that's the whole idea of this Batmobile. It's like you have different Batmobiles, but this is like the bad part from the Dark Knight trilogy. It's literally a tank. It would be weird for a tank to drive as smooth as a sports car.
Yeah, but there are missions in the game that force you to drive the Batmobile like it's a sports car, and then it can't do it. I mean, there are a couple missions in there that I couldn't do, or really, really got annoyed at because of the way that the Batmobile feels and drives, and that you had to jump over ramps and then had to make a turn and la la la, and then it's just like, I can't do it. I just couldn't do it, and I had to try over and over and over again. And when I finished the game, I was like, oh my God, I don't have to touch this anymore. And it's literally been years since I haven't touched the game.
Well, I wasn't that annoyed with the Batmobile because I really loved it. And I think I'm just one of the 2 people in the world who think that way.
Wow, that's quite the exclusive club you got going there, Gizmo.
But again, I really love Batman Arkham Knight.
It's a great
But
game.
just to be honest, I didn't love it so much that I 240% it, because that's a possibility.
That's a weird number.
Yeah, it's like if you 240% finish the game, you get a special bat suit and everything. It's like, it is a really cool bat suit, but you have to put in so much hours. I'm like, I already put in like 60 hours in the game. I'm not putting more. But yeah, the whole next gen feel for me was that Rocksteady was able to create a Gotham City with different boroughs, and each borough had his own identity. Like, you had a borough for the Penguin, and for the Poison Ivy, for Mr. Freeze. So, and that was kind of awesome. Um, and yeah, for now, I really hope that Rocksteady is gonna do something great with the new game, Suicide Squad, and Warner Bros. Montreal is doing something
Gotham Knights
with
or something
Gotham
like
Knights.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
But
Gotham
it's not going to
Knights.
be in the same universe.
that's a
Suicide
strange
Squad,
move.
yeah, but Suicide Squad will be in the Arkhamverse, but the Gotham Knights is apart from it. So it's really
Yeah.
like a soft reboot or something.
Which is
But
weird
I'm
because
curious
I
for
believe
both.
that the story in the Gotham Knight game is Batman is dead, and now
Yeah.
they have to take up the mantle and defend the city.
Yeah,
Where, yeah, sorry for spoilers, but
Spoilers.
that's basically the way the end is of Arkham
Arkham
Knight.
Yeah.
So I thought that was the one that's going to be a sequel, but it turns out that the Justice League one is
But
going
that
to be
doesn't make
set in
any
the same
sense.
universe. Yeah, I really don't get why they do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, but if
Well,
you
doesn't
play
he
the
die
game,
under different circumstances in Gotham Knights?
he kind of fakes his own death, or at least that's what a lot of people think.
in Arkham
Yeah,
Knight,
I mean,
the end is like he fakes his own death, because the after credit scene, you see a new bat-like creature roaming the streets and beating up bad guys.
Yeah,
So yeah, in that sense, the Batman mythos has ended, but a new character has appeared, but it's probably Bruce Wayne.
yeah,
And in Gotham Knights, um, the trailer shows that Bruce Wayne sent encrypted message to Robin, of like the Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl, and the Red Hood on their phones. Like, if this message is sent, I'm really dead.
yeah.
But
I think
yeah,
yeah,
I guess we'll see. We'll wait. We'll have to wait and see until that game
yeah,
comes.
it's
yeah.
coming out next year, I think.
I'm
Wait,
really
didn't that
curious
get delayed?
how Warner Brothers Montreal is gonna set up that game. But I'm more curious about how Rocksteady is gonna set up the Justice League or Suicide Squad Kills the Justice League game.
Yeah,
Yeah, because they had that game came out in 2015, so it's been 5 years, and they only just announced their next game.
and it's coming
Yeah,
out in
but-
2022.
Yeah, so it's been 7 years by then. Where
But I think
with the other ones, it
Yeah,
only
but I
took about
think
3
they
years.
didn't. I mean, I think that they were tooling around a lot of ideas, because a rumor had it that they were also working on a Superman game,
Mm-hmm.
and odds are, if they were working on a Superman game, they were working on it for some time before it got axed and it became, the Suicide Squad game.
Probably.
So for that game to also be canon in the Arkham, in the Arkham universe makes sense in that regard. Yeah, I guess we'll just have to wait and see how that goes.
Yep.
And considering that Batman is a part of the Justice League, which probably means that in that game they either find out that he's still alive or something else. I don't know.
That's the great thing about not only the Batman story arc, but the whole DC and also Marvel. There are so many stories you can pick from, and if you just hint at certain storylines or certain arcs, you'll get the fans excited. But it's really a matter of implementing those story arcs in such a way that it doesn't feel ripped off or uh, uh, like quickly done, but very thought through. When it comes to building a universe, Rocksteady did their job with the Arkham games, so I have faith in them in continuing that in the Suicide Squad game as well.
Cool. I'm gonna ask the question I asked you before, and maybe not all will be able to answer. But if I ejected you all into space and you got to play with a console and a game,
What is this, Among Us?
no.
You're sus.
Very sus.
If you were left on a Halo ring and you could only play one game on Xbox, which game would it be?
Oof, good one. From the past generation?
Yep. Since it is the generation in review. I don't, maybe you won't be able to answer it, but
I would I would probably say Astroneer. I know it's a third-party game, but
hey, that's a good game. I love Astroneer.
Yeah, I love playing it on my PC when I got it to run at the lowest setting possible.
Hey, you can
See,
play
that's
it
why I need xCloud on my PC.
Yeah, you can play it on xCloud. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can play it on GeForce Now, but I have to buy it on Steam first.
So Astroneer?
Yeah, Astroneer, definitely.
Okay.
It's a fun game. If you've played, good grief, what's the world building game again?
Minecraft.
Civilization?
Yeah, if you've played like Minecraft, no, not Civilization. That's a strategy game.
I don't know. World building? No, world domination. China grow larger.
Yeah, you go build China grow larger in Three Kingdoms, man. No, I was talking indeed about like Minecraft-esque, but way more fun because it's in space. It's a fun game. It's a fun time if you've played that, or if you've played No Man's Sky, and you like the creative aspect in No Man's Sky. I'm pretty sure you're gonna love Astroneer. So yeah, I'd play that. Nice. Ironically, on a Halo ring.
Gizmo?
Ooh.
We can.
I really have to get back onto you.
I'll give you until Robin finishes.
Yeah, I think I have an answer for that. I said I only played 2 games on my Xbox One S, but I got a few games when I got it, and so I'm mainly referring to the new games. What I also got was the Halo Master Chief Collection, which nice. I also played on my Xbox One S, but I placed all these games on the previous generation as well. So only the Gears ones are the newest ones. So I'm going to say with the I'm going to go with the Halo Master Chief Collection. Mainly because I'm on a Halo ring, like you said, and it's 4 games.
Okay. And then we look at you again, Gizmo. What would it be?
Yeah.
It can be a third-party game.
Yeah, I know. I think I'm going to go with Return to Arkham.
Okay, that's nice. So you have the Arkham Asylum and the Arkham City games.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because big replay value and... yeah, it's Batman.
And Batman's good. Cool. I have another question, but I will do it after the end of the upcoming segment because we might have to dive into a little bit deeper. So stick around and we'll be back with our PlayStation segment, which I'm really looking forward to. Alrighty, welcome back to our third segment. But before we head into PlayStation Nation, we're still stuck in outer space on the Halo ring because Gizmo, we forgot to do his honorable mentions. So the floor is yours again, Gizmo.
I feel so honored. No, thanks for that, Sean Templar. My honorable mentions. Wow, difficult word. First, Assassin's Creed Unity. It was the first next-gen Assassin's Creed, even though it had a lot of glitches. I had a lot of fun with it. And the teams at Ubisoft really managed to capture the setting of Paris during the revolution. So that's my first one. My second one is Evil Within. Even though I don't like horror movies, I do like horror games, and Evil Within was like mind-blowingly scary. Um, and the third honorable mention is Valiant Hearts, a very small indie
It
game
was the
from
World War
Ubisoft.
One game, right?
Yeah, it was a World War One game. It wasn't
With the
a
dog
very
and the
yeah, it wasn't very long, but it was really well produced and written as well. Um, and yeah, that's it.
That's 3, I think. You had 4.
Yeah, that's 3.
Okay, nice. But those are good ones. So Valiant Heart was a really good one.
Yeah,
I never played it, but I saw it at Ubisoft's E3 press conferences, and it really looked really nice and stylish.
yeah, it was.
Yeah,
And especially when it's a theme that not a lot of developers touched upon, like the World War One, and the fun thing is it had 3 different perspectives, like the Germans, the British ones, and the French.
nice.
Enchanté.
Well,
So
on that note, we are heading over to PlayStation Nation. Robin, all eyes are on you. Please tell everybody why PlayStation was the best place to play this generation.
Hey,
Okay,
watch it.
here.
Switch has
we
his own generation, so
go.
shush.
No, but if you look at the last generation, and if you want to talk about a winner, I'd say the PlayStation had a great generation this year. This generation. So I've got 5 games I want to share with you, and I've got 14 runner-ups, but we're not going to go through all of them.
That just
And
shows how great it was.
yeah. So some of these are third-party titles. Some of them, or mostly of them, are actually first-party titles. And I want to start, and these are in random order, but I want to start with a third-party title, which is kind of an indie game called Firewatch, and you guys featured it on your Instagram page as well. And
I love Firewatch.
some people call this like a walking simulator, but it doesn't do it justice. It's so much more than that. It's a really short game compared to most of the other ones. Just if you look at the start of the game, it opens it's kind of a heartbreaking opening. I'm not sure if you remember it. It's this game is from 2016, so it's been a few years now. But just like a dialogue options you get, and a short story is being told about a man and a woman who meet and fall in love, and she ends up developing Alzheimer's, and how that impacts their relationship. And then he moves on to the game starts actually where he picks up a voluntary work to do some fire watching in the early 90s, and that's where the game starts off. And the game looks beautiful. It's so beautifully designed by Ollie Moss, who was the creative director for this game, and he's an artist as well. And then there's the characters itself, and you get really attached to these characters, although you don't see them, and that's supported by the great voice actors. And the story itself is kind of a mystery, and I don't want to give that much away, but I do know quite a few people who didn't really like the ending. Have you guys finished this game, Firewatch?
I haven't finished it. I started playing it again 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I haven't finished it yet.
Okay.
No, I haven't picked it up yet.
It's only like a 4-hour game, if I remember. So in that case, I'm not going to spoil the ending, but the way I experience this, it's mostly about loneliness. That's what this game is mostly about, because you're on your own most of the time, and the only companion you have is someone else who's in another Firewatch tower, and you can only contact them over the radio. And the way I played this game was I was alone for a weekend. My wife, back then girlfriend, she was off for a study course in the UK for that week, and I had the weekend off, and I started playing the game in the morning, and by about afternoon I finished the game. And I felt so lonely. I could really get why that
really
character was so
relate.
lonely at that time. It was a really weird experience, but that was one of the things I still vividly remember from this generation. So that's Firewatch. And still, Sean Templar, if you haven't finished the game, really do it. It's only like 5 hours or maybe 4 hours. It's totally worth it.
I definitely intend on returning to it. I like, as you said, that the opening is so powerful that you get this really brief introduction, and then you have to make two choices, and you don't know what those choices will kind of reflect on or cause. So that's something I really liked. It just the beginning alone, in which you have to say like, okay, are you going to get a dog or not, or do you keep it or not, or do you get angry at her because she was out late, or do you just pretend that nothing's going on? Those subtle choices you can make that just takes the story, in a way. I like it.
And it's only in the beginning of the game you do that. It's not like, it's, and I haven't even talked about the soundtrack yet. I completely forgot about that. That's also so good in this game. So on so many different levels, it's a really small team who developed it, and they did announce a new game, but unfortunately it's been put on hold. It's called Valley of the Gods, and because it's been put on hold because the studio has been basically absorbed by Valve, and they mostly worked on Half-Life Alyx.
Yep.
Yeah, they did get absorbed.
I didn't know until Robin told me 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
that they got absorbed by Valve.
Yeah, because I was still waiting for Valley of the Gods. I think I kind of missed it, but then he said, no, they've been absorbed and they worked on Half-Life Alyx. I'm like, oh wow, that kind of flew under the radar.
Yeah, so this game came out in 2016, and they announced Valley of the Gods in 2017. It was supposed to come out in 2019, but they were bought in 2019, and since then the project has been put on hold.
Well, that bites.
So for the next one, so number 2 is I started to go through my in the new PlayStation app. You can see which games you've played and which you own, and I started to go through in the history. And this one was I completely forgot about how much it impacted me, and that was Resident Evil 7.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
this game, like scary games,
and this game is I like the franchise. I've played. I really liked Resident Evil 4. I kind of liked Resident Evil 5, but there was a reason I didn't play Resident Evil 6 because the whole franchise was going into a different direction, and they kind of went back to basics with this one. It's like an old house, abandoned house, and it's a first-person one. But what really stood out for me is this one is we got VR this generation. We got proper VR on the PlayStation this generation, and I think Resident Evil 7 is the one that really proved that big party games can offer a really good experience in VR.
You played this in VR?
Yes.
Oh,
so it's
he has a whole set of new trousers though.
Sorry?
I was thinking about making a comment like that. I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna do it.
I'm sure he does.
No, it's this. The PlayStation VR part brought this game to a whole new level, and I've played scary games before, but not like this, where I've got footage still from back when I played it, and you can see my head shake around. how scary and how the shock value is so great with this game. And it's still, if you don't have a VR headset, you can still play it. It's still first person, and it's nice that they went back to basic. But with the VR experience, it's a whole different thing. So if I look back at this generation, that's new, and I'm really looking forward to the new one as well, because they haven't really announced yet if they are going to be supporting VR again on the next generation.
Yeah. So
but is there VR in the PlayStation 5?
Well, they have mentioned that they have mentioned recently that in terms of a dedicated headset for the PlayStation 5, don't expect it to come out for at least 2 years. They are making it available to get a free dongle for your current PlayStation VR, so that you can
order it.
Yeah, exactly. So that you can play PlayStation VR games on the PlayStation 5 from the PlayStation 4, of course. But don't expect them to have a new headset out anytime soon, because they are, even though they are essentially all in on VR, they noticed that the player base was not there on PlayStation 4. I mean, they sold 5 million, but 5 million out of 100 million.
That is the best-selling VR headset out there.
It is, but even that is not saying a lot because, again, even in the PC sphere, considering that it's a very high-end bar entry, not just the headset, but having the rig to play it on, which is why, the Oculus Quest thing is very appealing, or at least it was until it required a Facebook account. And at that point,
We're
it dropped
digressing.
in value. But the point is, I'm sure you can play Resident Evil 7 on VR on your PlayStation 5. Just don't expect Resident Evil Village or Resident Evil Village 8 or whatever they want to call it to have that same experience on next gen.
I really hope they do, because
It does immerse yourself in such a level that horror games would benefit so much from.
I remember seeing a video on IGN at the time when VR was just coming up this generation, in which a guy was wearing a VR headset and he played, I think there was a Paranormal Activity game, or at least a demo, and they had this montage of people playing VR games, and then the guy playing Paranormal Activity, one moment he's just standing and he's kind of like, oh, we'll see about that, and then the trailer moves on, and then he's on the ground in a fetus position crying, saying, please make it stop. When I saw that, I'm like, okay, I'm never trying a horror on VR.
No, I don't think I do love I do love horror games, but first person and then VR, like you'll be closed off from the world in such a way. It's like you're gonna have a new set of fans after playing that. Like no way I'm gonna touch that.
There was one moment in the game where you're running from someone. I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's this villain. You're running from them, and you're trying to hide somewhere. And what happens? You go into underneath the floor, and you crawl underneath the floor, and all of a sudden, your light goes out, and you can hear. And the surround effect is pretty good as well. As you can hear them walking around on top of the floor, and then it stays black, stays dark. You can't see anything, and all of a sudden, the light pops on. The enemy has a candle, and she's right in front of your face, and that part is so immersive because with the 3D effect, it's really close up. Yeah, it's
oh my god.
Yeah,
I would scream like a little girl, like
yeah, I would say away.
I kind of did, yeah.
Is there footage of that? Because we would love to see that.
Unfortunately not. So what happened was we tried to save that footage, but we got scared so much that we pressed the share button twice in panic, and then that it stops sharing it, and then you lose the footage. So that's really unfortunate.
Too bad.
Well, maybe in Resident Evil Village.
Maybe, yeah. So number 3, let's go back to 2018, and there was this game that came out called God of War.
Boy.
I
love that game. I love that game so much.
And this game shouldn't have been this good in so many different ways.
Yeah.
When they ended the franchise basically with 3, and they did make God of War Ascension, was it? The studio could have just continued making God of War 4 with basically the same mechanics, same setting. They could have just kept going, but they didn't. And they could have rebooted it, but they also didn't do that. I really hate the word soft reboot, but kind of that. So I really love the choice that they continued with the same character, but in a different setting. And at first, I really hated when actors got recasted, but they got a really great voice actor. I forgot his name, but
he's from Stargate.
Teal'c from Stargate.
Yeah. Which I was watching The Dark Knight Rises last week, and he's got a small role in that.
Yeah.
Hey, that's it. That's that guy. It's Kratos.
It's Kratos.
Yeah.
In Stargate, he says "indeed" a lot. And there's this part in God of War that he says that as well. So they basically make this montage reel in which you say, indeed.
Now, what I really liked is, like I said, it's this game shouldn't have been this good. So what happened was this franchise grew up with its fans.
Yep.
And it's no more boobs and blood. There's an actual story they're telling. And I kind of grew up as well. So when I played the original God of Wars back in high school. That was one of the most fun parts about that game, and I really enjoyed it back then. But yeah, now I'm 30 years old, and 2 years ago I was 28. It's different now. I've grown up, and the franchise has grown up as well. And I'm on the verge of becoming a father right now, of a small son, and I really considered calling him boy because I'd really like to be able to come into his room and say,
I knew it.
"Boy, clean up your toys," something like that. No, it's not going to be boy, but I can't promise I won't.
Does your wife agree with that?
Call him boy.
Boy.
I want
It's
the
a second
footage
name.
for
You
that.
can always use it as a second name.
Yeah,
Like a nickname.
No, like
No.
literally, like her first name is like, I don't know.
Robin Jr.
No, that's not.
Robin Boy Jr.
Yeah.
no, but again, they could have cut so many corners short and made a really easy sequel to the God of War franchise. But they did something with the material and took it to the next level. I really like the lore they've added to it, and it also got me really interested in the Norse mythology lore as well. I really recommend reading the book by Neil Gaiman, Norse Mythology. It kind of explains how the image we have of the Norse gods, like mainly Thor, it's like Neil Gaiman said, or like Cory Barlog, the game director, said, Thor isn't a server dude who's friendly. This
No,
is
he's
a
not.
really bad dude. And I'm really looking forward to the sequel one because at the end of God of War, he kind of makes a cameo. So I'm really looking forward to where that franchise is going. But if you look at the game itself, the axe mechanics felt so good. They spent a lot of time in perfecting that, and it's so much fun to just throw the axe,
fun.
pull it back,
And call it back.
yeah, and they did that so well. And the other small parts, like these moments where you're just rowing in your boat and Mimir is telling a story.
I love Mimir.
Yeah.
He's so funny.
But the details with the axe, you see the axe being thrown and it gets stuck in the wall or in the tree, and as soon as you call it back, you see the shattering from that surface, like from the sheer force of the axe being pulled back. Like that was so awesome. But
yeah,
I
can
really
you
hope
imagine? Can you imagine what the DualSense control will play in that? How that will feel. I've heard the stories. I haven't played the DualSense yet, of course, but I've heard so many great stories about how that controller feels. Can you imagine what it will feel like to catch that axe again with that controller?
I think that'd be pretty cool.
I wonder if they would do it like God of War is, of course, part of the PlayStation Plus collection. I don't think they were going to utilize the DualSense in the backwards compatibility version, but I'm really looking forward to Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Or the working title of the next.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the current one. I'm talking about the sequel. They're going to do something really amazing with that. I'm sure of that.
My only fear is that game will be pushed next year because for some reason if the game comes out next year, it will have been 3 years since they've worked on the game, which is like basically an average development time now, 2 or 3 years. But I still have this feeling somewhere, there's this little voice in my head saying, yeah, they're going to push it because Sony has pushed their major games in the last few years multiple times just to make sure that it's good. And I mean, if they push it, I'll be happy for it because we know we'll get a good product because of it. It's just that more like you're looking forward to and Horizon Forbidden West and God of War, which is like 2 pretty heavyweight titles coming out in the same year. Yeah. It almost sounds too good to be true.
And Santa Monica has a reputation of delaying their games.
Yeah, so that's what happened to The Last of Us 2 and to Ghost of Tsushima. Omar, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, are you happy that they push it? Because I can understand you won't be happy about Cyberpunk.
Yeah, let me put it this way. I hope Cyberpunk will come out this year. I think that the issue that we have is that Cyberpunk's been pushed 4 times in a year. Whereas with God of War, you'll know that they'll push it once and then hopefully bring it out.
Maybe twice.
Yeah, but like...
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I think the chances that a studio will pull off a stunt like CD Projekt Red did with Cyberpunk is
I think that's unique.
out of the question.
That's not something
It's
that
unique.
happens. Yeah.
Like once is understandable, twice is okay, but four times is like you really have to have good reasons to push a game four times in a year.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's gonna be a great game probably. Unfortunately, it's first person. I'm not gonna play it.
That's so bad.
Yeah. And a little thing, the new voice actor for Kratos is Christopher Judge.
Yeah.
Ah, yes, indeed.
Boy, boy,
Okay.
you should have known that, boy.
I loved how they did that at the Game Awards, that they had to give an award, and then the voice actor for Atreus kind of forced that moment, and he said, "Boy," and then he read out who the winner was.
Read it, boy. Okay, so number 4 then. This is a game that came out in 2015. And just to put things in perspective, how I experienced this was a game that got pretty good reviews. I'm not specifically not calling the name yet, but this game was a game that got pretty good reviews. And I talked to my back then girlfriend, now my wife. She heard really good things about this game, and thought, you know what, I'm going to buy it for him. And just to put things in perspective, she was just about to finish a college, and she didn't have a job yet. She barely had any money, and she took the effort to buy this game. And this game was Bloodborne. And she got this for me as a surprise. And I played it.
That's why it's special to you.
And I hated it.
Wait, what?
What? I hated this game.
Plot twist.
I got this game from her, and I hated it so much. It was so difficult, and it didn't look that nice. The style was pretty good, but it didn't look that nice. And it was so difficult, and nothing was explained. So this was my first Soulsborne title. But the reason I got it as a gift, and it forced me to continue playing the game. And I'm sure if I hadn't gotten it this way, and I got it like in PlayStation Plus, I would have never forced myself to continue playing it. And after maybe about a few days, something clicked. This game clicked with me, and I got it. And I started understanding the combat. But what mostly did it for me is it brought me kind of back to my younger years of game experience. So back then, I should have been about 4 or 5 years old when I got my first game console, which was Game Boy, and a few months later, after that, I got an NES. And back then, games were pretty difficult, and I couldn't read. I could even read English, and I had to try and do things and figure it out by trial and error. And that's what happened this game as well. Is nothing's explained to you. You just start, and you get killed off immediately, probably by the first enemy, and you try again, and you try again. And then because you don't have any weapons, for example, you only get your weapons after you die the first time. Nothing's explained, but you have to do things through trial and error. The other thing that clicked for me was eventually I discovered that the world is interconnected. And it's so well interconnected. You're you're passing along a gate which is locked and you can't go through it. And after like a few days of playing, you figure out that you end up at the other side of the gate, and there's a lever you can open the gate, and it's all interconnected. Oh my god, I've been in the same area all this time where I've been a few days ago. That's also the reason why this game doesn't have a map system, where many modern games have a map system. You can see where you are, where you have to go next, and that's one of the things I hated about the game initially. I didn't know where to go, and I kept getting killed all the time, and the combat itself eventually clicked with me, and that's when I started to look into it more and also discover there's a huge hidden lore behind it. There are these YouTube channels that were just mainly successful by analyzing all the item descriptions and trying to tell the hidden lore in this game. I'd really recommend playing this game, but really force yourself to get into it. And I'm really happy to have experienced it in this generation.
Cool.
I don't know if I'll ever play
looking
those
forward
Souls
to
games.
playing it. Oh, sorry, Sean Templar.
I honestly don't know if I'm going to play these games because I played the original Demon Souls on the PS3, and I hated it, as Robin just said. But seeing, for example, Demon Souls on the PS5, it
goodness,
kind
that
of
looks so
got me
gorgeous.
excited. I don't know why. Whereas I know, like, okay,
Because it's pretty.
I think that's the reason, because it's buttery smooth 60 FPS, and you see him just running
The
around.
lighting is amazing, by
It
the
looks
way.
You're
beautiful.
gonna see yourself die in 60 frames per second.
Yeah,
Yay.
I'm afraid I'm going to put in $80 on this game and not play it. But at the same time, I'm thinking like, okay, maybe I need to buy it, and I need to force myself to play this game, no matter what. I kind of need to plow through, and then maybe, just like Robin explained, I will like it, because I know that a lot of people are hoping for a Bloodborne 2, and also a update to Bloodborne, making it run better on the PS5. Maybe it will through the PS Plus collection.
I think it's gonna run well through the PS Plus collection, because there are games that run like ridiculously smoother.
But the game has a capped frame rate of 30 FPS.
Then it'll run smooth on 30 frames.
But you
as
won't
long
have
as
any
it
load
runs
time.
smooth, that's the whole thing.
Yeah,
it's the smoothness that's lacking sometimes in certain areas.
The thing I'm looking forward the most for the next gen is like the disappearance of loading times. Like when you fast travel in, for instance, Assassin's Creed, that you push the button like, I want to go there, and you don't have to wait and see your character move in the void of the enemies, but you just press, I want to go there, and you're there in an instant. And that's something I'm looking forward to in the next gen.
I think a lot of us are.
So, Robin, after Bloodborne, have you gone back to any other Souls game?
No, the year after that, Dark Souls 3 came out. And one of the benefits that Bloodborne had, which the other two prequels to Dark Souls 3 didn't, was there was this mechanic where if you get hit and take damage and you hit someone back immediately, you restore kind of some health. So it's a really aggressive game, Bloodborne, compared to the other ones are. I did also play Dark Souls 3 after it, but what I've heard from people is that they don't recommend playing Dark Souls 1 and 2 because they have that old mechanic where it's less aimed at attacking and more about defensing and dodging. What I did play was Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, which is kind of in my runner-up list because I've been hoping for a Bloodborne sequel for a really long time, but it's really apparent to me now that From Software has exceeded Bloodborne now, and they're going to go to something different, and that's what Sekiro ended up being. It's a completely different game, but it's got some of the few tricks of their other games where some of the world is interconnected, the way the story is told, but the combat is so much more fluid. And I think that they're moving on from that as well to Elden Ring, which we don't know anything about yet. But it's really clear that they're not going to be doing any Bloodborne sequel. Really unfortunate, but they're going to make something new and more modern as well.
I think the only reason why Bloodborne exists is because Sony wanted another exclusive, and they knew that they probably couldn't get them to do Demon Souls 2, so the next best thing was Bloodborne.
I did it paid off because a lot of people love the game.
Yeah.
So my number 5 then is another 2018 game, and this has been where God of War was basically the best game of that year, in my opinion. The game I had the most fun with was 2018 Spider-Man. That game, I loved the Spider-Man 2 game on the PlayStation 2. There was a movie tie-in game in 2004 for the Spider-Man 2 movie.
Up until that point, the best swinging mechanics of any Spider-Man game.
Exactly, it was the first open-world Spider-Man game. You could swing through New York. Don't play this game again. Don't play the 2004 one because it looks horrible. It plays horrible. I remember it being so beautiful, but it's horrible to look at nowadays.
After that, there was a small game from Activision, Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions. It was a really good Spider-Man game.
Yeah,
but it wasn't an open world, but it was a really good Spider-Man game as well.
Yeah. The part I liked the most about the Spider-Man 2 one was it was open world, and you could pick up missions and do those sorts of things. And that's what this game did. I was really hoping for it, but it's kind of a combination of the Arkham games and the Spider-Man 2 game from the PlayStation 2, and they took the best parts of all those two games. And the way the fighting works, and the game looks amazing, it plays amazing. I really like this iteration of the characters and the story. It does a few things the same, it does a few things differently, if you're familiar with the Spider-Man storylines. But what I like the most is how easy it is to pick up and just, like you said, Sean Templar, just pick up the game and start swinging. Start swinging through the city, and it's so easy to pick up, and it feels so good. Swinging. Yeah.
It feels so good.
So what I did was I platinumed this game. That's often what I do with games I really enjoy. I platinumed it, and there was nothing left for me to do. Then later in 2018, they released 3 story DLCs, which just added more things. They didn't do anything new, but they just added more story. New missions to do, more swinging. That's basically it. And I couldn't ask for anything else. But I finished that as well. So there was no reason for me to play the game anymore. Then in 2019, during the release of Spider-Man Far From Home, they added a new suit. And they also added an option where you could earn new trophies by completing the game again in New Game Plus and doing it on hard difficulty, or I believe it's extreme difficulty. So I did those things again, and now I'm at a point where I can't do anything else in the game. I finished it 3 times, did all the trophies. There's nothing I could do. But luckily for me, there is a remaster coming out on the PlayStation 5 where I can do all of this all over again.
You're a really dedicated Spider-Man fan.
No!
Yeah.
I'm going to do it as well. I've been holding off on playing Spider-Man, and I when I heard the remaster was coming out, I'm like, okay, I just need to wait a little bit more, and then I can just platinum that game and experience it all over again.
I finally got a purpose to play again.
Spider-Man was the only reason I got a PlayStation. I have the special edition PlayStation 4 Pro sitting in my cabinet.
The red one.
The red one. My ex-girlfriend really hated it because it was red. I was like, it's red. It's awesome. It's Spider-Man. But yeah, my favorite comic book character after Batman is Spider-Man. And there were 2 moments in the last gen that I wanted to buy a PlayStation. The first one is the Batman Arkham limited edition. I was like, that was a silver one with the silhouette of the Batman on the side. It was like, that was a really great one to have, but it was just a PlayStation 4 and I already ordered for the Xbox One. But then the Spider-Man version was, Spider-Man 2018 was announced. Like, okay, I need to have the special edition game and the special edition console for that. So both of those are in my cabinet right now. And I cannot wait for the PlayStation 5 with Miles Morales and remaster.
Oh, nice.
This game didn't do anything new, but everything it did so well. And I again, like I said, there isn't any other word I can describe it as. So much fun. That's basically it. I actually bought it twice. I now realize what I did was I got the limited edition with the steelbook and the card box around it, which is really nice. But in other countries, they released a different version of the steelbook, which had a really nice design on it. So I found one on the internet, and I bought that one as well. So I have 2 copies of this game and 2 steelbooks of this game.
It
I
almost
only have the
sounds
red
like
one.
what?
I only have the red
almost sounds
steelbook, like the standard one from the limited edition or collector's edition.
Nice. But you also have the red PS4. The red PS4 with the controller. The controller looks really nice.
Yeah, true.
It's almost like it's like me supporting Sleeping Dogs. I bought that game on the PS3, on the PS4, and on the PC. I don't know why. I just did it.
Oh, good. I thought he was going to say it like the amount of 3DSs that I bought in the past.
Oh, man. Do we want to know?
No.
Your runner-up list, Robin.
Yeah.
Before,
Number 1 of 14.
We're not bringing it up.
Yeah, 1 of 14. No, there are a few honorable mentions, but there is one I have to call out. I'm still not sure why it's not on my list, but I really loved Titanfall 2.
Oh my god, the most underrated single-player game of this generation. I love that game.
Thank you. That is definitely why I love that game. That single player is kind of short, but that's the best part of the game. The multiplayer is really fun as well, but that Titanfall came out as an exclusive for the Xbox, of course, and I could have played it on that, but it didn't have a single player campaign, and this one did, and it's so well done.
So
the characters are really
Respawn
likable.
did it, right?
You're right. Yeah,
Respawn.
The guys who originally made Modern Warfare 1 and 2 and the older Call of Duty ones.
And the originators of Medal of Honor.
Right. Assault, yeah.
So I should mention that one as well. It's so much fun with that game. Really hope they ever make a sequel, which they probably won't because Apex.
I think they did mention that EA or Respawn mentioned last year or this year that there is more in store in the Titanfall universe, and it's not a universe that they're ready to say goodbye to, and it's nothing related to Apex Legends.
Well,
okay.
Yeah, because I was about to say that Apex Legends is technically part of that universe.
Yeah, but it's some they vaguely hinted at a Titanfall 3.
Okay. So
I mean, EA has to because they barely brought out any good games this generation. So,
well, Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, but like you can
like a game.
There's a question I'm going to ask in the end that kind of ties into this. So I'll try not to go into it, but I will tie into it when we're done with Robin's list.
Yeah. So the other ones I have to mention, otherwise I'll get slack for that. Is
I'm looking at you right now.
Horizon Zero Dawn. That's one that came out. I really like that game as well. It's an exclusive. The reason it kind of sticks out is that developer never made that kind of game, and it's and they announced a sequel, of course. Really good new franchise. The Ratchet and Clank game. Sorry.
And Dutch
developed. Yeah.
The Ratchet and Clank remake is also mentionable because that's basically the best remake that's ever made.
It looks like a Pixar animation movie. So nice.
Yeah, especially the new one. That's
man, ray tracing. Oh.
Finally, the Naughty Dog games like Uncharted 4: Thief's End, and then the surprise DLC. No, not DLC, but kind of expansion. The Lost Legacy that came out a year later after that. And of course, I should mention Last of Us Part 2, but I think we've discussed that in the
in depth in the spoiler cast.
Oh, one final thing is A Way Out, kind of a small game by
nice.
EA, but that was
that one,
really really special experience explaining that that multiplayer game. It's only you can only play it with two people. You can't play it on your own.
You know what was surprising about that game? And I was surprised EA did that, and it was such a cool thing to do. But if you wanted to play that game with someone else and you were not on the same couch, because it's meant as a couch co-op game, the other person could just download the demo from the PlayStation Store. It would be the full game, and then all you had to do is send that person an invite, and then they could play the whole game co-op with you. They wouldn't have to buy the game. That was so awesome.
So out of character for you.
I did not expect it when EA came up with that.
We should do that, Sean.
Yeah, I have the game.
Wait, do you have it on PlayStation?
Yeah, I finished it with a colleague of ours who rarely plays games, and he said, like, the Way Out looks really nice, so we should try it. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I bought it, and then we just played it. It was really nice. I still make fun of it because there are some choices you have to make in a game, and I still sometimes make fun of the choices he made in the game. So
I want to try that one as well. So
yeah, sure.
Robin?
Sure. Yeah, I haven't platinumed it, so I still got a few trophies.
Oh my!
Oh my God! You can platinum another game. Okay.
Are those the runner-ups?
Good list.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna mention this one because you didn't mention it, and I'm gonna say you should be ashamed of the thing you threw at me. You said about this game, is it worth $60? And I thought, is it worth $60? Of course, this game is worth $60, and that is, of course, Ghost of Tsushima. I mean, it came out this year, and you said, I don't know if I'm gonna buy it. I don't know if it's worth $60. Like, what the hell are you talking about? Worth $60? That game is so awesome.
I'm sorry to say, I still haven't played it yet.
Oh my God! You know what?
Did you pick it up or not?
I don't think. Do you have it?
No, I don't.
Okay, so since I'm gonna buy a digital version of the PS5, I won't have any use for it. So the next time I see you, I'll lend it to you so you can at least play it and see why it's worth $60
I'll try it out on my PlayStation 5 in 2 weeks.
in 4K 60.
Yeah.
Nice.
Is it gonna get the upgrade?
It's gonna be forward compatible, so it's gonna run at a dynamic 4K resolution at 60 FPS.
Smooth.
It's basically running in PlayStation 4 mode, 4 Pro mode.
Well, but I think
it
hits the 4K more than there's a comparison on GameSpot I saw yesterday in which they have both the Pro version and the PS5 version running simultaneously, and you can see a lot of differences in it. So it's really nice. I'm thinking if there are some games that didn't make the cut, such as Days Gone, which I believe is one of the most underrated PS4 games this generation. Did you play it, Rob?
Nope, didn't.
I'll have to lend it to you as well. But or it's in the PS5 collection. You can PlayStation Plus collection. You can play it. I mean that game was also awesome.
That's funny, by the way. Sony's gonna release 20 games for the PlayStation Plus collection on a console only with 600 gigs free for games.
You just had to go there. On that note, I will ask the burning questions that I have before I do something to you, Gizmo. Say we are stuck in the world of God of War, and Kratos is out, and he said, "Boy, finish that game." Which game would you pick and play if there's only one game you can play?
Persona 5. Mostly because I haven't played it yet.
So how can you play a game you haven't played it? How do you know if it's good or not?
Because it's something that I want to play, and I know it's good because it's flipping Persona.
Okay,
they're all good games. And the only reason I haven't dived into it is because I want it for the Switch, and the rumors are coming back about there possibly being a Switch version of Persona 5 Royal, and it's driving me insane. And I just want to play the game. I want to be able to play it like anywhere I go. I mean, I know that I can play it on my PlayStation 4, but I don't want to be tethered. That was the fun thing about playing Persona 4 Golden on the Vita. It's why I got it on the Vita. It's why I got it on the Vita before I even had a Vita.
Okay.
It's so that I could play it anywhere, because I played Persona 4 on the PlayStation 2, and I loved that game, but being tethered to the screen was really annoying.
Okay.
That's the whole idea of game consoles, right?
Well,
Sorry?
Nintendo's kind of challenging that idea, so.
Yeah.
So, Gizmo, for you?
When it comes to PlayStation, I think Uncharted, the collection.
Nice choice. I like Uncharted. And you,
I was
Robin?
going for that cop-out.
Hands down, Spider-Man.
Yeah? Okay. Now, I was
Yeah,
expecting Bloodborne.
Yeah, because I put it on my list twice, right?
Yeah.
No, Bloodborne's got a special place in my heart. But if I look at the game I had most fun with, that's definitely Spider-Man.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, I thought so.
Well, no, so soon because Miles Morales is coming out within a few days. So, and the reviews already up, and it's pretty
It's
raving.
yeah,
The reviews are really good.
Yeah.
yeah,
For a
9s
Lost
and
Legacy
10s,
type kind of game.
but it's 8 to 10 hours if you do the main theme, the main story, and then if exploring it.
If it's like
It's good.
a good 8 to 10 hours, why not?
Yeah, if you want
that's
to platinum
just
it,
the
it's
main
going to be like
story,
15.
and then you have like exploration and everything,
Yeah.
so you can
or
bump it up to 20.
Yeah, you could play the remastered version if you like.
Yep.
So I have 3, maybe 4 questions, which is kind of like a bonus round we could do right now. This generation introduced 2 things that weren't really present in previous generations. And there was a pretty big deal out of it, which I still don't agree with. But I'll start with the first one, which is we got a lot of games that were called live games or games as a service. So we saw games such as a Destiny, a Division, a Rainbow Six Siege. So basically, when the game comes out, it doesn't end there. It just gets support. I mean, season passes were some things that we saw on the PS3, but what we see now is that games get multiple year passes. The Ubisoft games do this. The Call of Duty and the Fortnite games take it even further by doing a monthly battle pass, as they call it. What are your thoughts on this type of experience, to put it that way. I mean, for example, I like the Ubisoft games, and with some I have bought the season pass, just because I like the games that they've put out there. But I don't know what you guys think about it.
Yeah, I mostly don't play these sorts of games, but the reason for that is that it often doesn't work out they want to. Just look at the Avengers game; they had a plan, and that's what you often see with these sorts of games. And the fun aspect is held back by parts of it being a service and like the grinding part. So it can be done, and it can be a lot of fun, but it's really hard to pull off.
I think we saw that with Star Wars Battlefront the day before the game came out. It had this huge, I wouldn't say controversy, but the whole loot boxes, diamonds fiasco. So EA was good to revert that. I see your mouth moving, Maximilian, but I don't hear anything.
Yeah.
Dang it! Sorry, I muted myself.
That was like a mime. Like, oh, read my lips. What am I saying? First word sounds like.
I was saying that's microtransactions. That's not like a live service thing, and I do feel like we have to make that distinction because, like, loot boxes stuff is just poison. You know that's why, stuff like Ultimate Team and stuff like that. That it can take a very long walk of a extremely short pier, in my opinion. Because it doesn't add gameplay. It just adds a system that can be very addictive, and I'm not.
It's basically gambling. That's why it's forbidden.
Exactly. Yeah. But live games, I'm kind of torn on it. It depends on how you execute it, because pour one out for Anthem. That was one where they did that was one that was just that had like the most saddest game development I think I've ever heard, and that had an impact on how it's working. And the same thing goes for Marvel's Avengers, where the problem is with both those. Well, with Anthem it was more gameplay more than anything, but with Avengers is that they're piecemealing it in a way that doesn't make it fun. And which is really ironic because the single player aspect of it was really good. People really liked the single player aspect of Marvel's Avengers, especially because it was from the perspective of Kamala Khan, aka Ms. Marvel, one of my personal favorite Marvel characters, Marvel heroes. And it is a shame that after that the multiplayer stuff is just so poorly balanced, not fun, samey. But then you go to something like the Division 2, where you do have these random occurrences in the world, but there's still a structure to follow if you want to follow the structure. It's the same reason why Breath of the Wild was fun. It's the same reason why the Division 2 is fun, is that you can build that progression and you get better at the game. And the fun part is with the Division 2 is that you can play with other people. And you can either play with your friends, you can call out an SOS and have other people come and help you, which is a really cool feature. If you look at Monster Hunter World, it's also a similar kind of aspect. But Monster Hunter already did something like that from the get-go. So for Monster Hunter fans, it's not a live service. It's just the way the game has always been played, except now they have this cool SOS system as well where you can get other people in. So I don't think it's a bad thing as long as it's implemented well and it doesn't piecemeal its content in a way that doesn't feel natural. They don't make it super grindy.
I can get that. Do you have anything to add, Gizmo?
To be honest, I don't have a lot of experience with games as services like Destiny or an Anthem or Marvel's Avengers. But when it comes to season passes, I do get that idea of season passes. Like if you're a person like Robin who enjoys Spider-Man so much that he wanted to continue the story or do extra missions, a season pass is like a really, really well thought extra. You don't pay as much as you pay for a full game, but you pay a little more extra for a game you already love, and you just extend the fun you have with that game. But when it comes to games and services, yeah, what Maximilian says, it has to be implemented properly. And yeah, I don't have a lot of experience in that sense, but the only game that did that properly in my eyes is Destiny and Destiny 2 and The Division. Other games that tried that same idea didn't have the the gameplay or a well thought out roadmap or anything, and that's a shame when you look at Anthem. That when I first saw the trailer, I was like, holy shit, that's a good game. It's going to be awesome, and also the whole world building. I was like, oh, if they do this properly, there's going to be the biggest game for this generation. And then eventually it came out. It's like, meh.
That was a real shame because I was looking forward to Anthem as well.
Yeah,
But
a lot of people, and
It looked interesting enough, yeah, but apparently that was not the game they were making.
I was
Nope.
hoping that the reboot they're working on is going to make it better.
Are they
Yeah.
though? Are they
Well,
working on a reboot?
yeah,
We'll just
they
have to
said
wait
that.
and see. My second question is around another thing that came up this generation, which I honestly have no value for, which is crossplay. It's something that Microsoft helped into this world or championed into this world, and there was so much buzz around it, and Sony said we're not going to do it, and a lot of pressure was put onto Sony, and Sony eventually had to cave and do it. I personally, let me put it this way: the theory around crossplay is nice in the way that if Gizmo has an Xbox, I have a PlayStation, and we want to play a game together, he doesn't have to have a PlayStation to do it, so we can play games together. But the context in which I've seen it so far, this is only in competitive multiplayer games, not, for example, in co-op games. So eventually, for example, I play Call of Duty with a couple of friends of mine. We always turn crossplay off because one, it barely works, or there's not a lot of people using it, and secondly, we don't want to be matchmaked into servers with PC players because they have an advantage over us. Seeing as crossplay is barely mentioned now, what are your takes on crossplay?
I hope that
I
it's
think
gonna
it's fine.
be. I hope it's gonna be implemented in co-op games as well, because that would open
They
up
would
a
have a
whole.
value there. I can
They would
understand
have
that.
a big value over there, and um, yeah, I am one of the few people I think that is gonna have a Series X and the PlayStation 5. So if Sean Templar is gonna play a game in co-op, it's only on PlayStation. I can do that on my PlayStation, but not a lot of people have the luxury of owning both consoles, and
Exactly.
they do have friends or family with another console. So when it comes to crossplay, it really has a value when it comes to playing. For instance, a game like Dead Space 3, which was a co-op game in essence. I would love that game to have crossplay options, so I could play it with people with a PlayStation and myself on the Xbox 360 at the moment.
We can
Yeah.
be scared together.
Yes. Well, Dead Space 3 wasn't that much scary
No, it
as
was an
Dead
action
Space
game,
1
I
and
know.
2, but
Yeah.
or a game like uh, the Prison Break game you just mentioned.
A Way Out, yeah.
A Way Out. That would be a fantastic game to have crossplay on. But when it comes to competitive matchmaking, yeah, that I don't see the value in that. But when it comes to story-driven games, co-op crossplay would be a big value in my eyes.
Yeah.
There's probably a technical limitation why they can do it with multiplayer but not with co-op. I think co-op works a little bit differently online. I'm not a network engineer, so I have no idea how that all works.
Right.
But I feel that developers um, if developers wanted to, now that cross-play is a thing, they would put in the time and effort into figuring out to make it work for co-op, because as you said, that adds way more value to it than just multiplayer. And it's not, I mean, it's not like I missed it in multiplayer because I have played Rocket League on my Switch, which was one of the first to have crossplay for it. And when I played against Switch players, they were on my level, but that was back when you still had to pay for it, was when it just came out. And then I tried a few matches with with crossplay in it, and people playing on PC were just kicking our butts. We're like, oh, okay, we are not ready for this yet. They've had like a year of advantage over us, and we don't have anything. So yeah, I mean, at least now it's an even playing field. I can understand that, especially with first person shooters, if you're playing competitively, the mouse and keyboard has an edge over everybody else. But just because they're on PC doesn't necessarily mean that they're playing mouse and keyboard. The odds are high, of course. But it also could just be that they're playing, with a controller. That is a possibility.
I'll give you an example, and this is, I think, a rare case, but it happened to me, in which I played multiplayer in crossplay, and I was the only console player on both teams, and I don't know how it happened, but for some reason we lost the match, but I was the MVP of my team. I think I had the most kills.
That you were good.
I don't know, and I don't mean to brag or anything, but I was surprised by the result. But it's like, what?
Yeah. See, so it doesn't necessarily need to be that way. So it is there, but I do have to agree. I kind of wish, you could play co-op games cross-platform as well.
Do you have anything to add, Robin?
Well, I think it's good to have this feature. I probably won't be using it myself, but like Gizmo said, it's nice for people who have friends who have different consoles to be able to play with them, and it's nice that technical hurdle isn't there anymore. So in theory, this could be implemented with every game nowadays. So it's good to have that choice at least.
Yeah,
nice.
And I think that's the best takeaway. To at least have the choice there is something good.
Yeah,
and the fact that I'm happy Sony's finally getting on to that page, but it really shows a bit of how Microsoft has been thinking of the gamers in general and not only the gamers of their consoles.
I'm going to ask one question because I've used this argument multiple times when this comes up. I wonder if Microsoft would have done the same if they were not in the position that they are. Because basically, I don't know how accurate the numbers are, but there are numbers floating around that Microsoft sold 50 million Xboxes this generation. Sony sold 113 million. So my reasoning is Microsoft is playing this game because they sold less, so they're trying to win people over by kind of saying, we're here for everybody. We want everybody to enjoy games. And
Okay.
I think if they were not in that position, they might have completely had a different narrative because they were selling the most consoles and making the most money.
No, I don't think that's the case because, like I told you, Microsoft in this case, Phil Spencer, has been thinking of all the gamers. And when you think of consoles, yeah, of course, Xbox was clearly the loser in the last gen. But when you think of PC gamers, those top both, I think. And Phil Spencer was talking about every gamer. So the PC gamers, Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft, hopefully Sega. I don't know, name something, but
Please don't say Sega because I'm very sad right now.
yeah, we all.
Oh.
But yeah, I think even though if Microsoft had sold 100 million Xboxes, Phil Spencer is in essence still a gamer at heart. Like I'm gonna
Shuhei Yoshida.
He's also a gamer. I mean, the dude has a platinum for Dark Souls, for Bloodborne and for Demon's Souls. So.
No, the former president.
You mean Don Matrick?
No, Don Matrick was not a gamer. That dude was a marketing guy.
Nintendo, the guy who died.
Oh, you mean Awada-san?
Yeah. That was
guy who died. Wow.
Yeah.
Dude,
That's a
have some
sensitive
respect.
subject for Maximilian here. The guy
Have
who
some
died.
respect, man. Jeez.
But I told you I'm gonna hit myself in the head for this. But he was a gamer in essence as well, and the same goes for Phil Spencer. He thinks of how the community as a whole can benefit from certain features instead of we're gonna win this console war. That's my view on it.
Okay, I can understand that.
Let's get real here. If it was up to Phil Spencer, they'd be having xCloud on every known system to man.
But that's good, but that also brings in a lot of money. So it's also a business decision, not just a game
Exactly.
decision. Okay, so my last question is, and maybe you need some time to think about it. We have had, I think this was one of the best generations of gaming that we've had so far. We've had a lot of new IPs. I mean, I want to commend Ubisoft for coming out with new IPs on a yearly basis. They might not have all have been the best IPs out of the gate, but eventually held their promise and made the game good through updates and through free content. So Ubisoft came up with a lot of new IPs. Sony as well took some risk, came up with some new IPs. If you have to pick a favorite publisher for this generation, who would it be? And looking forward, since we're starting a new generation, which game are you looking forward to? And if you want some time, you can think about it.
Well, we can't leave it empty because this is a podcast.
I've got an answer.
Silence.
Robin has an answer.
Good. Go for it, man.
The publisher I'm looking most forward to what they're going to be doing next is probably Naughty Dog.
Okay.
They're not going to be making a new Uncharted game. They're probably not going to be making a new Last of Us game. I have no idea what they're going to come up with next.
That's an interesting one, yeah.
And then the game that I'm mostly looking forward to for the next generation is Spider-Man. No, just kidding. No, it's probably God of War. That's
okay.
A really promising title, and I really hope that they continue with the quality they left off with.
Nice. Does any of you two have an answer yet?
Well, you already mentioned Ubisoft, and I think, yeah, Ubisoft is one of the go-to developers for me because they are developing Assassin's Creed, which is one of my all-time favorites. But they already have a new title or new IP coming up with Immortals: Phoenix Rising, and I'm really, really looking forward to how they're gonna, put that game on the map, and if it's gonna be a series or if it's just gonna be a solo title.
Have you tried the game already?
No.
You can play it for free through Stadia now.
Yeah, Stadia.
But I mean, we tried it, and it's actually okay this time around.
Yeah, okay, but
Stadia is not bad as a program. It's just bad as a service.
The business behind it is a bit different.
No, and to be honest, I want to play that. I want to have the first impression of the game on my either PlayStation 5 or Series X on my 4K TV, and not on my. I only have a MacBook, so it's going to be HD and with the mouse and keyboard. So
you can plug in your controller. I plugged in my PS4 controller and I picked it up without an issue. But I understand your point.
Yeah. So for me, I think it's going to be Ubisoft, and somewhere I just thought of Platinum Games.
Oh, that's a good one.
I really love their IPs already, and I hope they come up with something, out of the box, like a Vanquish or.
Still waiting on that Bayonetta 3. They say it's still in development.
But but that's not a new IP.
It's been a long time.
I'm really looking forward for a new IP.
They are working on a new IP. They hinted something. We just don't know what it is. Something with like giant robots or something.
Gundam.
Maximilian, do you have something?
Yeah, I had to think about it really long and hard because it's been like this generation has been ridiculously good for gamers. Just like out of the, Horizon Zero Dawn was a game that I did not expect to be as good as it is, especially since it was a new IP from Guerrilla Games, who at that point have only done Killzone, and you'd almost think that that's literally the only thing they can do. And then they pull that out of the hat, and you're like, wow, okay, that's like ridiculous. It just had the unfortunate timing of coming out the same time as Breath of the Wild. And I feel that that kind of made people underestimate it a little bit, or because like I said, with Breath of the Wild, you had like this go anywhere, do anything thing. Whereas with Horizon, even though you could go everywhere, there were still some certain, the typical limitations that you have of open world games.
Yeah, you couldn't climb onto anything. You could only climb on really specific things.
Exactly. So, among other stuff, but the story was really cool. When I finished that, it was really fun. But the thing that I'm looking forward to the most is whatever Monolith Soft is doing over at Nintendo, because they put out the definitive edition of Xenoblade Chronicles, and then of course earlier in the Switch's life cycle they put out Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which was also a really good game with like really good DLC. They had a single player standalone DLC prequel story, torn out the Golden Country, which you can either buy separately or buy it as a part of the season pass for that game. And it is amazing because it literally feels like a different variation of the same game, and the fact that they put all that effort into it, it's ridiculous. And we know that they've been working on a new game for like a really long time, because they've been hiring people left and right, but they've also been helping on other Nintendo games in terms of like development manpower. So I'm really looking forward to whatever it is that they're bringing out, be it Xenoblade, a new Xenoblade variant like they did on the Wii U with Xenoblade Chronicles X, or something completely different entirely. I'm sure whatever it's going to be, it's going to be amazing. And if the rumors of the next gen Switch are true, and they're going to take advantage of the power that's in there, then one can only imagine the lengths that they'll go through, because the Xenoblade games have always been about this open world JRPG world that you can live in and just go anywhere that you see on the horizon, with certain limitations on Xenoblade 2, where they were like individual biomes. But Xenoblade 1 came out on the Wii, and that was open world, and that was ridiculous. Every zone was interconnected, only through like a short loading screen. But once you're in that zone, it's this big open space and just ridiculous detail and great characters and great story. I don't know. I really want to see what those guys are going to do next.
Here's hoping they come up with something fast.
Yeah, I think it's going to take a while, but I think we hopefully will see something next year for those guys.
Fingers crossed. All
Thank
right.
you, Sean Templar.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
For me, I think it has to be Ubisoft as well, because I had a lot of fun with The Division. I had a lot of fun with the sequel. I loved how they came up with new settings for Assassin's Creed, but especially how they kind of reinvented Assassin's Creed with Origins and Odyssey. I loved Odyssey because it really felt like, one, I loved the Greek mythology setting, and I also liked how they kind of married Assassin's Creed with The Witcher and came up with this RPG kind of game. Because when I played Syndicate, I was kind of getting Assassin's Creed fatigue, and I'm really happy that they took some time. But also, for example, Watch Dogs. I bought my PS4 for the first Watch Dogs, and it didn't totally live up to what I was expecting, but in the end, I liked it. And now that I'm in Watch Dogs Legion, I'm liking that as well. I loved Ghost Recon Wildlands, or Badlands, as Maximilian always calls it. I'm hoping Ubisoft will finally bring out Skull and Bones, even though that game has been postponed again. And I mean, the fact that they've been able to take risks and churn out new IP every year, or at least show it off at a new E3 every year, kind of did did surprise me because, if I'm honest, an Activision and an EA played it real safe, and they rarely came up with new stuff. Whereas Ubisoft really took this center stage and said, like, okay, we're just going to do it, and we're just going to show everybody what we were capable of. I'm really hoping they're coming up with this Splinter Cell, because that's something I really missed.
Oh, Splinter Cell, holy shit.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are asking for it, so
I'm pretty sure that franchise is retired and they're just using Sam Fisher.
I don't hope so. And then the game that I'm looking most forward to, I think, would be Horizon Forbidden West, because I know God of War is going to be amazing, but I had just so much fun with Horizon Zero Dawn. That was the first game I played in 4K, and it just graphically blew me away. God of War was the first one I played in 4K HDR, which even added a level on top. But just the amount of freedom, the cool story, the RPG mechanics, the whole world, that you had all these diverse environments. You could move from the jungle into a snowy area, into the desert, into this whole city in the desert, coming across a Thunderjaw and trying to beat it, and then Frozen Wilds. That was just so great on so many levels. But
yeah,
I mean, I've and you're gonna give me some flack for this, but I wanted to play Horizon Zero Dawn again, and I wanted to play God of War again, and I wanted to play Spider-Man again, and Days Gone again. But I'm holding all these games off so I can play them on the PS5, so I kind of have like a new experience on it. So I'm really, really looking forward to those.
Also, can we give a shout out to Ashley Birch, who plays Eloy, because I love the character, and she did an excellent job on that.
Great voice actor. Yeah,
she's awesome in that.
Yeah. So I think with that, we have come to this very special and very fun, if I may say, episode. It has been an amazing gaming generation. It's been amazing to be able to do this with you all. So I want to thank you all for joining and for participating. I think Maximilian, I think we both can agree that it's just nice to have guests and rivals over to do this. I'll just do my standard outro now so we can wrap it up. Thank you all for listening, and don't forget to follow us on the social media platforms that we are. This podcast is available on all platforms: Anchor, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Especially for you, Robin, we're on Overcast. You're the one person that checks us out there, so we'll just keep on doing it for you. Google Podcast, Stitcher, we're there. You can also leave us a voice message through Anchor. There's a link in the description. You don't have to make an account for it. You can just click on it, or through Anchor itself. We have a Twitter, which is game_rivals_. We have a Maximilian Twitter, which is @Maximilian. We have an Instagram account, which is @GameRivals. You'll find a description in the link in the description. And then we have a YouTube account, also a link in the description. And then I think that's basically it. Right?
Yeah. You can also send us an email.
Oh, yeah.
Which is GameRivalsFeedback@gmail.com.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's the last thing.
That's basically it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Gizmo. Thank you, Robin, for joining us. It was once again a pleasure to have you guys on. This is the first time we've done 4 people, and yeah, it's fun. It was a fun time. Got to learn a bit more about you guys as well. Have some fun conversations on the side. Sean Templar, thank you for moderating.
It was an honor. Thank you for having me. I'll be back next time.
He's here every other week, ladies and gentlemen.
Surprise, surprise.
Plot twist. On that note, I don't know if the guys will get this reference, but this is something we always do at the end. I am and have always will be Sean Templar. I can't even say it.
I have and always will be Maximilian X.
And the guests are...
I have and always has been Robin.
It's me, Gizmo.
Perfect.
And we will catch you on the next one.
Later.
Bye-bye.